Which of course means that's when I'm going to hit the streaming button, right? Hey guys, welcome back to Relaxing Survival. Hopefully things work out better tonight than they were working for me on YouTube last night. The Ingest servers completely died on me. Had to cut over Mecha Monday Battletech over to Twitch, so if you're wondering where the video stream was from last night, that's where it is. I gotta come back in another day or two and break it up and upload it to YouTube because it ran a little long on that one. But that's enough programming notifications. We have our challenge tonight here, which is this needs to be widened so I can actually try to run this thing uphill. I say try because, yeah, I don't know. Technically, it should be able to do it. I'm set on this side, but definitely lacking somewhat over here. In fact, let's just break out the mining ship and get that going. Hopefully you guys are having a good night. Hopefully everything's actually working and playing back fine. I'm not seeing any problems on YouTube, by the way, but I am seeing a couple of minor issues over here on stream health on YouTube, so you guys will have to let me know how things are looking. I'm getting the okay, but users may be experiencing some minor issues. What does that really mean, YouTube? Does it mean something on my end, which it shouldn't be because everything looks fine, no drop frames? Or is it more continuation of issues on your side? I wonder what it could be. Yeah, it couldn't be YouTube's problem. It would never be YouTube's problem. It would never break anything like that. I have to remember, I can barely make the grade on this hill here with this ship. Oh joy, wisdom teeth removal. Yep, I went through 3 of those and told them to all do them all at once, and that was not a great experience because that was the day that my parents brought home one of the first modern computers of the time that I was able to work with. Up until that point, I was working around, playing around with 286s, and that was when the 486 was a thing. Holy moly, 66 megahertz of processing power. You know you want it. Back when computers came in boxes with cow hides printed on them. And if you did have one of those, my extreme sympathies, because that computer was a piece of shit. Here we go. Okay. Not gonna do the saltiness. The other thing also, if you missed it, over the weekend, I did actually do a little bit of fun with the multiplayer beta this time around. Decided to give it a shot, because obviously Uncooperative Survival on Saturday, we were quite salty about things, the state of the game, so it was only fair to kind of go back and play it a bit more, not necessarily in the scenario that we were trying to do, but just kind of give it a shot and play with some of the new features. And it turned into a massive, on my end, 8-hour stream. That video is also currently sitting over on Twitch. And you can get to my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Feral1701. Same name I'm at over here. And that video is at least in my videos list right now. I just have to break it up into something a little more suitable for YouTube, because it's like a 8.5-hour video. It's the longest stream I think I've done to date. And for 8 hours, didn't really feel like I advanced all that far in the game. But I wasn't exactly trying to push it breakneck pace, so that's kind of understandable. Come on, clear out the stuff down there. I know I'm gonna waste a lot of armor plates here trying to do this close clearance without having extra clearance on it, but I'm not worried about clearance. Just want to not have to go back and hand grind some of these spots out. It's not easy to pick exactly where this thing is. Also, another bit of programming note, for those of you who've been asking for mod lists in the comments, hopefully when I go back and edit the description for this video, I will remember to put a link to the world. Last week, as promised, I did publish the world to the workshop over on Steam, so it is out there, Relaxing Survival, episode 15. You guys can download it, and that way you'll get all of the mods that are in the world without the need to try to make sure that you've got them all set up properly and all that fun stuff. I know they're not set up properly, by the way, guys, just in case you're wondering. Because those of you who are astute will look at some of the things that I've done for some enhancements and may note that I don't have them set up quite right. Which is why things are going on, like not having certain drones wandering around at the moment. I gave them a vacation, basically. It's there if I ever really want to turn them on. This should help me out a little bit if I can. Let's... Yikes. Sideways like that? Oh, actually, this is even better. Got enough thrust to do the hillside this way. So basically, I need to definitely finish this off, because then I'm going to get up to this top here and start finishing off the top side of it, and I want to, hopefully, by the end of the stream tonight, get an idea of what the actual launch vehicle is going to look like. Because remember, that's the booster unit that's going under it. Let's see, how are you doing on... Yeah, maybe a little more off the top here. Kind of thin out this little edge. I also gotta go back and do another pass on that left side there, because I can see the edges sticking out a bit too much too there. I don't want to get too bogged down in the hows and whys of this. I need to make sure the slope works before I worry about building walls into this thing. How's that? That's still on the not so good side down here. A little bit of bump grind minding there. That'll work. Alright, let's see if this will work. Level you out a little bit so you're not just kind of burning all of my power trying to avoid a side thrust. Oof. Keep making all these miners that do not want to maneuver on gyro power. It was an interesting going back to the multiplayer, or not the multiplayer, the survival beta test. It was interesting. I will certainly give it that much. Come on, clear that little bump down there. Oh yeah. And you guys thought I wouldn't clear that. I don't even have the top side of this done yet, and I can still get up in here on top of all that unfinished grid work there. Rather anticlimactic hill climb. The problem being, though, that spot down here. That, and why is that? I saw that rock out the corner of my eye going up. That's gonna drive me batty. There, get rid of. No, not enough. A little more. Oh, come on, game. Get rid of. Ah! No, 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 no. You go away. Do the right-click drill. That will leave me a big gaping hole, but get rid of it. Okay. This is looking a little better, and now it gave me a much better sense of getting up this hill, so we don't have to actually add too much more onto this. I mean, I think this is a good continuation of this curve over here, if anything. When will the next Subtech stream be happening? Don't know. Still trying to make a decision on that one, on that series. Primarily because the more I get into it, it's more like a, holy crap, I'm going to be spending the next 4 hours doing this. So, kind of a case where it's like the, again, getting back to the survival update testing and everything, it's kind of one of those things is like, holy crap, you're gonna make it so I have to spend the first half hour of the game doing this? And, again, not saying that in a bad light, just saying that it is a change. And so long as it is optional, I have no problem with it. Might not be my cup of tea, but it might be someone else's cup of tea. So, I'm not gonna go in and say you shouldn't do something to the game because I'm not gonna play it that way. That's not how a sandbox game works. Everyone plays differently. But we will see with SevTech. Especially because the seed I was on was not a very good one, unfortunately. I found a slightly better one, but that one has been found because I've also been trying to play test it out a little further before I commit to anything else with that. So there is that. The ramp corner inverted and ramp corner. Pretty sure those are the blocks I had over here, right? I just gotta teach SE how to put them in again. And in a way that'll actually let me place them in the world. Okay, right angle there. Oh, right, yeah, because you're the... I'm not going to let you place it there unless you find the very sweet spot. There. Haha, trapped you. Tricked you, game. I tricked you into letting me place the block I wanted. Ah, and you got me back right away. Sometimes that is almost what the game feels like at times. Can I trick it into letting me do what I want to do? Now the drop-down side thingy isn't showing the dot. The drop-down side thingy. Drop-down side thingy is... What? I am the confused. Yeah, it was definitely, it's interesting to see some of the stuff they've put into that survival update. Like I said, I don't 100% agree with it, but I'm going to also try to hold back further judgment on it, because they have definitely, well, hopefully we'll be listening to feedback. I left them quite a bit of a lengthy feedback after the uncooperative session. And hopefully some of that is still considered, you know, trying to be constructive about it, you know, saying, okay, I see what you're trying to do, not sound like Clippy and say, can I help you write that, but just here's some thoughts on it. It's probably too late, though, honestly, to expect any big radical changes, too. Let's be 100% honest. When you start to talk about changing something that's going out in a public beta, it's more or less almost in finished form, and you're really kind of looking more for just a wrap-up, almost. Get rid of a couple cosmetic bugs and get it out the door. So we shall see. So it would seem. Sorry, had to go for the meme there. Actually, just watched that video back. The last thing I would need in this series is to hear "Hello, Jiggy Bricky." That would be bad. That would be the end of the series at that point, honestly. You're gonna knock out just a little bit of rock here. Oh, the fact these grids don't align kind of irks me too, but... You know, what do you guys mean by the drop-down side thingy isn't showing the dot? This is making me think of Galaxy Quest. It's the red thingy moving towards the green thingy. The red thingy moving towards the green thingy. I think the green thingy's us. Ah, you... Get out of here, Rock. You're not wanted. Nor is your buddy over here. Go. I want to see a nice... No, 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 no. That's not nice and smooth. Get out of there. I see nice, smooth transition here. Because then it means I don't have to feel like I have to build walls. It'd save me a load of time on this spot here. That doesn't seem right. You out of there. Oh, come on. Go away, rocks. Nobody wants you. Not yet. So, I mean, let's kind of, talk about that. It's like, okay, I've got the ore mod on this world, and... Or the, gravel ore separator mod, and kind of in a much more watered-down version, which actually makes sense for the way they're employing it. It's coming out in the next version of the game. What do you guys think about that one? Is that a... Are you looking forward to being able to actually have something to do with all the stone you're mining up? That don't look right. Huh. Build model must be off. Yeah, I think if I can get that little stretch down there, that won't look too bad. And I just have to figure out this whole mess through here. Especially because, yeah, I'm kind of looking back at this, and the blast ore blocks could let me do something interesting, but I definitely don't want to do that for the whole width there. It's a cool look. I certainly find that interesting, but only from the standpoint of I've got a lighting setup kind of in mind here. Yeah, wisdom teeth. Oh boy, that's tough. I'm sitting there, get home from the dentist and everything, feel like absolute crap. You know, I'm bleeding out of my gums in 3 different places because I said, nope, let me get it all done at once. I don't have to go back. Getting put under, that was the first time I've ever been put under for anything. So I'm kind of feeling weird and wonky and out of it from that. And then my father comes home and it's like, yeah, got a new computer, by the way. And my brain's like going, what? And, of course, because I'm bleeding out of my gums, and the instructions from the dentist were, do not engage in any strenuous activity, said parents said, no, 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 you can't put this, you can't do anything to assemble the computer. No, you can't touch any of these boxes. So it's like, okay, I've just been put through one kind of agony. Now you're putting me through a completely different kind of agony. Computer pieces. No, no, no. Want to put together. Want to assemble a computer. You know, computery things must be done. So that had to wait a while. Let's see if we can clear out straight across here. So I can at least get the base of the ramp in place. Funny thing is, I know people are looking at this like, wait a minute, why aren't you just using Pam? There's actually something, as much as I like Pam, it's just the fact that you can't keep stuff between sessions. If I could keep a Pam setup between streams, that would be so amazing. I would be so more likely to actually use it. Because at that point, then you certainly absolutely let loose with a large grid. So you can use all the production resources at your disposal. Really get as much out as you can when you're mining, and then you don't have to worry about going back for 2-3 streams. You come back and everything's done. Or even just a small grid, just being able to sit there and say, okay, I'm just going to let this go on auto for a couple more weeks, and yeah, it may even, depending on how much capacity I've got, it may still take it 20,000 trips, but at least it's set up and keeps going. So that would be why I've not really messed about with the loveliness of Pam lately. Because that would, Pam would make this a breeze. Let's be 100% honest here. This would not be a problem at all. Especially because then you can actually preview everything with the sensor block. So now the question is, I got 35 of you guys watching, and I know I've been asking, what do you guys think and what's going on? I'm not seeing anything coming out of chat, so it kind of confuses me a little bit. Is chat even working now? Because it seems that part of the reason why YouTube has been insisting I've somehow been streaming for almost over 24 hours was because of last night's shenanigans with the ingest server. Kind of left things in a bork state. It thought I was still starting a stream from when I was trying to contact the backup ingest server. And, yeah, things have just kind of not responded well from that side. Finally tracked it down and fixed it, but things are getting interesting. Listening more than watching. Yep, okay, that's okay. I can respect that. I do quite a bit of that myself. Let's get rid of... Did they... Okay, hang on a tick here. That's... Okay, that's silicon. Alright. My brain is just reeling from the beta where you've got different textures on all of the ore patches now. So my brain's like, wait a minute, that doesn't look like silicon. This looks more like silicon up here. That looks more like graphite down there if I was going to give that a texture. Or give that texture a name. Alright, so, yeah, we got the funny thing is I saw before I started the stream that they're also doing a big Medieval Engineers update beta of the beta stream. I have a chance to look into it to see what they're changing. Have not touched that game in a long time. I mean, to the point where basically, yeah, I know they've got stuff in there, they've got tech progression and barbarians and whatnot, but I haven't really bothered with it. I may have to dust that one off at some point and just kind of, even if only for creative mode stuff, because that was pretty amusing in that regards when I last played it. That's pretty much what I was doing, was just creative building. So, holy crap, it's blocks that actually work like, you know, you'd kind of expect that there needs to be load-bearing things, and you can't do certain things. As opposed to just SE, plop it down everywhere, it'll be fine. Unless it's a block that happens to intersect another block, well, then you can't do that. No. That's not allowed. That's verboten. Oh, someday, SE will have this technology, and it will be glorious. And not, I don't mean through microgridding, because that's just... That is just a disaster waiting to happen. The other thing also, going back to the programming notes, I also realize I need to get the next episode of the PvPvP recap out. The reason why that has not come out is because, honestly, not much really happened from episode 2, you know, for big events, through... episode whatever. God, I can't even think of when we got ambushed. So I literally have to go through and actually watch back all the streams myself to pick out those special moments that need to be preserved. And that's a lot of footage when you start talking about 4 hours per stream, plus any additional pre-stream content that I may or may not have recorded. Those of you on Red Team know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. There may have been some recording going on there. Nothing bad. We didn't do anything that bad in the pre-game chat. Most of that was before recording, so... Definitely owe you guys the video for that. I also do need to get SevTech. That's the other reason why I was holding off on SevTech, because I actually do need to split out the stream for that and get that on YouTube as well. Just so folks know that, hey, that Minecraft is a thing once again. Also did actually try my hand at throwing together a quick and dirty custom mod pack too. Unfortunately, version issues arose. the Twitch desktop app is really good for throwing together mod packs quick and on the fly and just trying out new things, but not when you start hitting version dependencies. Oh, I see you're trying to use Journey Map. Well, that's only compatible with this particular version of this mod and this particular version of that mod. And before you know it, you're spending 20 hours just still manually downloading mods just to make them all compatible again. What am I gonna do up here? Because I've carved all this space out, having anticipated really just running it straight off the side here. Figure out something there. What does it look for? Oh, these armor blocks are so nice when you don't have edges and scuffs and dings and whatnot on them. You can make some pretty nice looking stuff this way. Any chance of a stream where red team takes a look at green ships and green looks at the red ships? That is something very much that Wasted Eye and Bowman do want to do. It's just really trying to find a good time to do it, and then also inevitably when PvP comes up, sometimes the tempers manage to flare up again, people get unhappy, and when we basically want to let things cool down a little bit. Because same thing with Season 2. Season 2 is very much still a thing that's on our minds. The other thing also is, well, Atlas came along, so that has certainly been eating up a lot of Wasted's time. Rightfully so. I mean, if it was not exactly my kind of game, but not a bad looking one now that I've been able to see it in a bit more of, I don't want to say finished or working state. I mean, that launch day was absolutely hard for them, and along with everything they did during launch day, and prior to launch day, not giving them an out for that, but they definitely seem to have rebounded from that pretty well and done some good community management in that regards. Maybe the community servers aren't great, but I'll tell you right now, private servers are looking a lot better than what you can do with space engineers these days. And that's even with the improvements from things like Torch and whatnot. Blood pressure rises a bit when PvP comes up in a conversation. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some things that happened, and there are definitely going to be some changes made in the next season as a result of it, which, as it stands, the format is changing just enough that it should make that even less of a problem. But yeah, it definitely manages to rub a few feathers wrong every now and then. It is just a game, folks. In the long run, it's not perfect. First run, do what you can, but alright, we got top of the hill here. It's gonna take a while to weld all this stuff up, but they all should be within range of the cliff bobs. And they shouldn't have any, maybe a little bit of stone off this side of the ramp, possibly. It's kind of looking like a little tight turn there, but not really. I mean, considering the top of the ramp is much wider than the bottom is. See about getting our side pieces on, shall we? How did I do this side? Did I do it I did this side the original way. Okay. It's the main ramp that I kind of screwed up on. So all these pieces should be aligned, going straight down, like so. No having to constantly get myself in awkward positions to place blocks. Think everyone will come back, or Ryder. Oh, and hey, M&M Gaming. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to the stream. Ryder, there will be a lot of. It's kind of up in the air. There's definitely going to be some people who will not be back. Some of that is by their choice. Some of that is possibly going to be by our choice, and by our I mean Wasted, Bowman, and my choices. And that's nothing to say anything bad about these people or anything. It's just sometimes certain personalities don't work out when you get them in the same room together. Sometimes you inevitably have clashes, and then some people can take things potentially a little personally, and that's also not saying anything bad of those people. But it is just a fact of life, and sometimes the best thing you can do in that situation is just distance yourself from it. So I've been in that situation before myself, and when you are at a point where you can say, yeah, I probably should not be here personally, then if you are doing the adult thing and backing away from it, I have to respect that. Yeah, definitely need to do some stone removal on that side. Or maybe I should just leave it rounded off, because I can kind of get rid of some of this stuff. It's nice to actually be willing to take out the, and I actually can't wait for this in, with the update, I don't feel compelled to do right-click drilling as much. Because over here I've got the gravel ore separator mod on. And once we get to the next incarnation of Space Engineers Survival, it'll be kind of the same thing. And the left click drilling is much better suited for kind of sculpting a wall like this than the right click, just get it out of the way and please don't give me any crap in my inventory that I have to manage. Because Bob's taking care of all that for me. Oh yeah, I like that. That's giving me a... It really brings out the stratification of the rock there, actually, the way that I've done that. That's definitely being kept. So maybe just a tiny nibble along the bottom here. Let's see what the ramps are going to look like here. It's better content with more people and not offending you, just a tip. Yeah. The whole thing is, well, a lot of the offending that was going on was off camera, and that was just because of the problem with the PvP format is we were, with it being the first season, the first time anyone has really been able to do something like that, Space Engineers, and no, I'm not counting Captain Jack in that. The rules and everything, it was very hard to kind of figure out, okay, what makes sense that you can do, what can you not do, and, you know, of course, people are going to be, I'm not saying intentionally going out to cause chaos or anything, but the fact of the matter is, it's going to be a little chaotic, so. Yeah, I definitely need to find something different on these ramps. But yeah, and some of that's also just the format and everything. Like, it's very, very hard. And yeah, I'll address the elephant in the room, and that's all the rumors of cheating going around. Well, okay, it's very hard to police whether people are watching streams that they should not be watching, whether people are watching the other POVs that they should not be watching. Because, I mean, you have to remember, basically, those of us who are in PvP were basically giving up watching Wasted stream for the better part of half a year. For that stuff, and vice versa. It's like, okay, anyone coming to Wasted's channel to watch me was either forced to choose Wasted or watch me instead. Or try to watch both, and honestly, if people were watching multiple views, my hand's down to you guys, honestly, because you're watching, you know, double or triple the number of views depending on who you're watching. And, you know, it's also technically not really fair to... Let's see if the slope block for the road works here. This one's going to be a bit tricky to place. I suspect because I can't place on the planetary grid. Let me... Okay, one block down, one block forward. Why do you not want to let me build that? Probably because you don't have an attachment point there, I guess. That's a little... Yeah, the curve on that's not quite 100% right. You can tell that was designed for the roadblock ramps, not a regular ramp. There were, right there, to be honest, there were people on all sides stream sniping. Well, not stream sniping. That was definitely not happening. From what I could tell, at least. But there were people who were watching other streams. And in some cases, that's, and I'll be 100% upfront honest, that was the case with me because, unfortunately, in order to know when Wasted's ready to move up to another channel, I kind of have to know, especially because I have to also stream, I have to keep an eye out for that, and really the quickest way to do that is at the end of the stream, okay, let me click over to his view to see what's going on. That was very rare, though. Same thing with the spoiler channel in Discord. Felt very obligated to try to keep an eye on that, because if there were people who were in there, someone had to police that. Mind you, having said that, I was very, very careful, and even upfront with Entity for the entire run of PvP, saying, if it seems like I'm getting knowledge from somewhere that you guys don't know, step in and say something right away, because I don't want to be that kind of guy who's cheating. And also, to add to that even more, there's discussion, the team captains themselves after the stream, we were all getting together, and we had to have discussions about things going on, just because we've got to know, okay, where are each of the teams really kind of at? Do we feel like we've got something where it makes sense to have the teams try to engage each other? Are we having problems with the game format that, you know, maybe only one certain team is having? That sort of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, at least from the team cap perspective, that could be construed as cheating. And I really hope to think that I managed to get through everything without really spoiling anything for the knowledge that I had. Wasn't using anything to gun for stuff, didn't hunt down any of the teams that way. I mean, in all honesty, let's also talk about the whole idea of stream sniping. Stream sniping in Space Engineers is kind of, it's a no-win situation when you're talking about something like PvP, because there's no indication where everyone is. You can't just walk up to, it's not like Minecraft where I can pull up an F3 window and say, aha, there's my coordinates. Unless you're being really eagle-eyed with the team that's dropping a lot of GPS points and gathering up the numbers there and then comparing them to the other teams, it's going to be very hard to actually pinpoint exactly where a team is. And even then, you're only going to be able to do it for, oh, well, that's where the GPS was. So there's that, and a lot of the other stuff about cheating was simply just the fact that I think, honestly, overall, the red team was doing a pretty decent job of doing reconnaissance and checking out things. I mean, for instance, we know from the, I'm trying to think how to word this, my brain's just losing it there. For instance, you can scout where the other teams are, because all you realistically have to do in Space Engineers, especially with the version that was out at that time, was just fly high enough and look for terrain deformation. Because the low lot on the voxels made it a lot easier to tell where teams were, and that's how we tracked down, well, realistically, that's how we confirmed where green team was at first. Granted, that was because Wasted also inadvertently pasted the GPS to live chat for everyone. But once we got to the area, it was a lot easier for us to just see from upstairs that, oh, hey, there's voxel deformation here. Okay, there must be a team here. Why you're not deleting? You're on 313. Yep, you're on perfect, perfect settings. Probably just welding up first. No big deal. So yeah, it is. Green stumbled onto us once, and that's the other thing. I mean, even under ideal situations, even with the radar mod, there was just no way to guarantee teams are going to collide with each other. In fact, that's actually something that was worrying me about the multiplayer, the survival update beta, is they've said, one of the questions in the survey after you played that was, did you like the fact that you now spawn closer to each other? Which is, for 90% of the time when you're playing multiplayer survival, that's a great thing. When you're playing something like PvP, no, you don't want that. We actually spawned within probably about 10 kilometers of each other, all three teams, at the start of PvP. Because I can look back at the footage of where I landed, the lander, where Wasted's team landed with his stuff, and where blue team landed, and they're all, I can pick out landscapes that are visible to all those locations. So there is that to consider. But yeah, it's I mean, we even get to the point where I think I even said it at one point in chat. You'll see me intentionally jump red team closer to the moon. It was on one of the things where we had to kind of do a little bit of a panic combat jump and no one was really paying attention. So I explicitly actually turned, and since I was scouting with the Battle Pancake, I took the Battle Pancake closer to the moon. With the idea of, okay, let's at least try to get closer there and maybe we can force an encounter to happen. Nothing ever did, unfortunately, because, well, even at that range, somehow we weren't stumbled on, even though green was actively doing patrols and everything. But there's other stuff that was going on PvP that was a case of, okay, it's things that we've never encountered before. Okay, let's add easy inventory. Oh, wait a minute, we've got, 20, 30 people all doing a heck of a lot of building and no Bob to assist, and, well, that puts a lot of load on easy inventory. Oh, hey, we've got the Battle Pancake because... Or not Battle Pancake, the Stonebreaker. And you get these little things coming out of stuff being said in chat, and certainly some things being said out of chat between the team captains, and then also things being talked about in Discord and whatnot, and it gives, red team panic that, hey, wait a minute, green team is doing a heck of a good job on resource gathering, holy crap, we gotta amp up our game, leading to the Stonebreaker, which just made the game unplayable. Because nobody was thinking from that standpoint. We're all thinking it's a PvP event, and the one thing you have in Space Engineers PvP is a map that doesn't stick around for months on end. You do your PvP event, you get off the map. So you aren't thinking about things like, if I do this, is this going to cause major issues in the game? So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we learned doing that kind of thing. A lot of lessons that we're applying to the next season. And I think it's going to make things a bit for the better, a bit less chaotic, and certainly the plans that we've got should neutralize about 99% of all these accusations of, well, XYZ is cheating because they did this, or, well, how'd they know exactly where a blue base was? They couldn't have possibly known, blah, 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 blah. That's the other problem you also keep in mind is that particular episode where we were finding and bombing the blue team base. That was me intentionally not showing it on camera, because at that point we had already had accusations of stream sniping. So my response to that was, okay, well, if this is going to be a problem, then I just won't show what we're doing on camera. So what you guys weren't seeing was a lot of the fact that, oh, well, here's 2/3 of the other team, we're all talking in code, arranging the secret bombardment of blue team's base, because we actually legitimately did find it. Again, it's the, the voxel deformation unfortunately gives you away. How does that look? We got... Okay, that's not... I mean, it's kind of the best I can do with the pattern I got, short of switching them over for normal armor block ramps. Not exactly ideal, but we shall live with it. Let's give this a splash of color on this side, shall we? There are more planets. We're still in the galaxy. Well, Earth-like had to be removed at that point because, well, here's the other thing. Yeah, Earth-like had to be removed because the impact it was having on the game. All the voxel deformation that had happened was starting to cause problems. And unfortunately, that actually removed the one way to scout out the various teams. So, especially that because by that point, red and green were well in orbit. We were established in orbit, we had orbital ships, we had no intentions of going back to the planet, short of, well, maybe we can kind of catch blue team with their pants down. That should Yeah, it kind of makes that a bit more of an interesting surface over there. I don't know if I'll work lighting into that just yet, but what I'm thinking of is lighting hidden behind the stairs. Should be a pain to set up because I'm going to have to also do something about the stair backs there, or the ramp backs, but that's not too bad. Come on, let me in the cockpit. Let's see if we can back this thing out without blowing it up. Come on, up you go. Give it a little bit of gyro boost, you'll be fine. But remember, this thing is also very much, the wheels are not set up in how they should be. They are decidedly in OP mode. Let's... Ah, yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, the nose crunch is a problem. That's a problem. But that just means I need to make sure to design this in such a way that the nose crunch won't be a problem. Come on, Bob, give me a hand there. Finish off the lamp, would you? Hey, that's better. We almost did catch him with the pants down, except for the fact that they moved just across the lake and subsequently caught us with our pants down. Well, it is what it is, and had we stuck on the planet, I think things would have been a little bit more interesting, but by that point, you do kind of want to go into orbit. Just see if I can hold. Yeah, still kind of grouching the nose a bit there, but yeah, she even holds on the slope. Even with the blocks missing on that side, too. Oof. Let's see if I can finish off this section here. You need a slope there, a slope here. It is what it is. You learn your lessons, you move on, you improve things. It's like I'm sure that there's stuff that, I admit I have not been watching it, but I'm sure stuff that Captain Jack's doing with that Colony Wars thing, that they're kind of feeling their way around stuff. And thinking of things that, well, if we were going to do this, we'd probably do it better this way, and all you have is next season, especially when you start making big, large-scale changes, because then you're just kind of inconveniencing everyone. Might be able to get this under here. Will you let me? Nope. I gotta get you out of the way. Oh no, I'm about to run out of hydrogen. Look at that. It's taking the hill like a champ. Okay, 5%, and I need to get somewhere where I can... Keen, could we have a toggle off for that, please? My jetpack is on, and I do not need to be reminded every 30 seconds. My fuel is critical. I know it is critical. It is the way of life. Yeah, and that's the fun thing, is there's so many different ways you can kind of do this whole survival thing. This whole PvP-like experience. Inevitably, someone's going to come up with something unique, and everyone's going to like it. I can save myself a little bit of weight. I don't need that stone. Alright. Let me get this set done. Just not the way I'm thinking of. Those two there. Goes there, you go here. Oh, so many ways to finish this off. I gotta figure out lighting for this ramp. That's another problem. I mean, it's one lighting down here will be too hard. A couple of room lamps will take care of it, but lighting in the way up's tricky. So I don't want to just throw room lamps everywhere, because especially you can tell that kind of is gonna bias things a little bit towards potentially lighting up areas I don't want lit up. Over here in great shape though. The room lamps are perfect for that. Then there's the other problem. I have to try something here. I'm really wondering how well this is going to work. I may have to design something that I really have no business designing, because every time I've tried to ever do one in Space Engineers, it has typically gone disastrously in the end. Yeah, I'm going to need to shoot. Oh. I need to design an elevator. And not just one-person splitsy-style elevator, but a big sucker. Because it's going to have to lift the launch vehicle up. Good news, I've got plenty of room to do it. And that's also going to dictate the size of the booster platform too, by the way. So I kind of think this is... Why are you guys not very slow about your grinding duties there, my friend? Rotor for spinning the rover 180 or hanger into the cliffside, kind of like a turntable. Well, honestly, there's more than enough room here to turn that thing around easily. If I'm going to take it, turn around down there, I've got the whole lake to do it. Up here, not too bad. But yeah, I'm kind of thinking the elevator's going to have to be in here, so that's actually going to... I've got an elite grinder, and I'm getting rid of these blocks faster than you are. Let's see what this is going to leave us for options here. I'm getting air off that turn there. How's that for a really nice setup? Because, yeah, I should have more than enough room to turn around up here. So all I really need to do is just... that. And smash that off, and watch the rover spin out of control. Because now the rover wheels are stuck in motion. Because Keen can't do anything simple like say, well, if I've got a cockpit missing, I should probably not keep trying to drive the thing and stop it. Because this would make too much sense. Come on, Keen. Cockpit. Oh, you finally decide to stop? Okay. There we go, just to get the stop. This is why this is not going up into orbit. This is the flight test vehicle. That was set. That actually managed to beat all the way back to the cockpit there. From ramming into the wall, that, which did not take out the room light, destroyed the mounting, everything underneath the cockpit. Oh, Keen, you and your interesting ways. Alright, let's see. Oh, you're in an interesting position. No wonder you stopped. You stopped because you're beached. Come on, back up a little bit more. There we go. Get you out of there in no time. I should have built the floor before I brought that up here. So, script for auto-stopping vehicles the other day on the Steam Workshop. Yeah, you shouldn't have to do this, though. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad to see scripters and modders doing that sort of thing. But at the same time, this should really be kind of a default game mechanic that if you're using something that... Well, I mean, the problem is I can see it applied the other way. Whereas, well, if I've destroyed a cockpit on a grid, if the grid comes to a crashing halt, how's that going to work? But something like a vehicle where it's like, okay, if this is relying on input from a system of some sort and a control system, and that control system is destroyed, realistically speaking, it would be safe to say that there should be some sort of mechanism that would perform an emergency stop. Because the last thing anyone wants is a grid that's just running around amok, right? I mean, the equivalent of this would be, okay, this car was just in an accident, and the entire driver's compartment was crushed. But you know what? The car is just going to keep going on its own, even though there's no one pushing down the gas pedal. It's kind of like, wait a minute, what? Let's get you... So, put your wheels on first. Pull forward and let it pull itself out of the hole here. So that's a lot. That's the other thing. It's like, okay, if they don't want to implement these sorts of things as, you know, forced on-off hard-coded features, an checkbox in the cockpit would be nice. Or on the info tab where you can say, if this grid loses all control capabilities, it will do X action. It will stop. It will trigger a self-destruct mechanism. How cool would that be? If you, oh, that's that drone, you shot down that drone very skillfully. Well, you could really be an absolute dick and say, yeah, let's have the grid automatically self-destruct. Have a warhead stuck in the middle of it, and now your question is, do you take the drone out automatically and run the risk of your base being shot or blown up? Or do you say, well, okay, maybe I just need to kind of surgically disable them first? You do some pretty interesting things with that sort of idea. Yeah, that cockpit's still down there. Hello, you happy little cockpit. Yeah, plenty of room to turn around. Maybe not on that side. I am kind of seeing that, you want to... I know the friction on your wheels are turned up. You want to just maybe slow down, stop. Your parking brake is on, friend. There we go. Keen finally figured out that I wanted to stop. Didn't realize I still had this overhang here. That's just waiting to scrape something to death on its way by. But also more of a reason why you just don't build something that would be right on the edge of the cliff there. As far as clearance. You're looking bad. That's better. Dead man switch on trains. Exactly. You nailed that 100% correct. Trains and subways, as I recall, too. I mean, you could technically do that with, you know, you could go to the extent of, you just need a sensor around the cockpit and set the sensor up to detect players and set up so that if, you know, you have a group with all your reactors on it and say if, or all your power sources really, if, you know, this sensor is going off, then the grid can have power. If not, it can't. Come on, Keen, get rid of that. I think if anything, the one thing I'm also kind of looking forward to with that survival update is the new asteroids. They certainly look good. I'm a little worried about how the LODs are holding up on them, but the fact that you've got clusters and everything, it's much more interesting. I'm a little worried about ore distribution, because that was certainly a problem. Part of that 8 hours of streaming was me flying around for probably about an hour, trying to locate everything, and it actually came down to one of Keen's developers was in the channel and was polite enough to spit out a couple of coordinates based on where I was getting coordinates for other ore, because it's a fixed ore generation map basically. So once you know where one is, you can technically find out where the other things are. Which someone out there wants to do some number crunching and figure out the system for that. Stick that in a mod and turn that into something useful. That would be pretty cool. Like I could see that actually being used to do a proper ore detector. So something that's not range based on the detector itself, but can say this is the range you set up for that ore. Well, actually, that could be how the ore detector works. I could be going off on a wild goose chase there. Alright, one ground surface. What's we got? Excessive mining a stone at the beginning looks tedious. The mining of stone, really, I think and again, you have to keep in mind that whole progression system can be turned off. You don't have to play with it. It is a bit tedious, yeah. I think if the progression system were properly doing some of the unlocks based off of building for small grids, it would help things out a bit. Because realistically, what you need to do is build a small ship driller and just work with that. But then the problem is the components you need on a small ship to make a mining ship efficient, like a connector, or the ability to actually have something other than solar panels. And I mean, you're talking about you need something that's going to have hydrogen, because it's got to power a hydrogen generator to keep it running, because there's no way you're going to run it off batteries very long, because you can't hook it up to anything to recharge batteries. Solar cells are useless underground, and, well, yes and no, they're useless underground. If you're on a planet, they're useful underground still, technically. If you're talking in space, not so much. In space, the problem you've got there is, well, you've got competing needs for that ice. You want to breathe, but your hydrogen engine will just suck that stuff up like crazy. It's amazing how fast that stuff burns through the hydrogen. Let's see, I got room over here for two more strips, actually. So I can kind of see why it's a problem, and then that's why on Uncooperative, and then again on the test stream I was doing, I was saying, oh, let me go for a large grid miner, because at least that way I can hold more, and I only have to take it out once in a while to work with it, and then the rest of the time it can just kind of sit there and, in case of the tail end of the test stream, just sit there and kind of charge up. Alright, that is about the amount of space I've got for a lift elevator. That's not going to work very well, is it? I mean, I can kind of do some things to make it a little better. Reset. No, there. Nope, my gyro spin's there. Okay. Let's see if we can. Yeah, she'll turn up in here. I mean, in all honesty, yeah, really, that was enough to damage that block. Thank you, game. Some sort of, not necessarily a full-on turntable, If anything, what I kind of see more is just a straight-up piston coming out of the platform up here with the rotor on it. Or not even just a piston itself on the platform, but I could see a vehicle turn, a very basic, like, not a skid steer system, but I'm trying to think of the proper turn for it. Just a single point coming up under the center of gravity of the vehicle, not even locking onto it, but just with a little bit of an arm to it that could support it levelly and just turn it for that little connection point there. The problem is, in order to do that, the rover would have to get further up the platform to begin with, so that way it could turn. You'd have to have its center mass, and you'd have to have it turn on that center mass. Otherwise, it'll just keep going backwards and forwards. So we can do something here. Because on the other hand, trying to do something once I get up to the top is a problem. But I can gyro steer and keep a forward end up. I mean, let's be realistic. There's also another way to work around my issues to need to get this grid going. Oh, this is going to be an interesting landing. Grid gonna go boom. Yep. Second time today that cockpit's fallen off. Okay, yep. So jumping the grid up to there is certainly an option. There is certainly more than enough time to have some sort of piston assembly that would close doors around it or maneuver door under it, but then landing on that grid would be a problem for the grid itself, because anything on rotors or pistons would probably have just snapped there. Let's be 100% honest. This was always a test vehicle, guys. I'm not worried about losing that thing. That was purely there to test that I had the ramp sized out properly for what I was working with. So I'm also not too worried about trying to figure out a way to have stuff elevated necessarily just yet to get up there. That one reactor survived. Just fell off. Full of shame into the world. I've really got to get a bunch of bobs under here. Except I did say I was actually going to build the place to properly build this is down the hangar. Just because I've got all the resources down there. So I got the top here set up. Let's go down to the hangar. If only for the fact that it's actually lit up down here, so I can actually see what I'm doing. Alright, so anything we send into orbit ideally needs to fit within about half the distance of the hangar, maybe a little less. And like I said, what I want is something... Let's kind of actually outline what I've got in mind here, because I have been mum on that long enough, and I think it would help you guys if I actually demonstrated what I've got in mind here. So we've got this thing, alright? Yeah, let's just stick with the white color there. And go ahead and this out this direction. This is the booster unit I'm working on. And by booster unit, what I really mean is the idea of this grid is that it goes part of the way to orbit. What I want to do is to be able to deposit my cargo on here, get this up as high as I can in the atmosphere, and then basically, provided I manage to launch this thing and keep it level going up, the idea is the rover will have its own hydrogen lift capabilities, and that's going to either lift straight up off the platform or drive off and lift up and continue on into orbit. So that's why this is kind of sized the way it is, because obviously I need some room for reactors on this. I can't exactly launch this thing very easily hooked up to other things. And it's got to have a decent amount of room for boost on it. Between boost and trying to stay level. And then the idea is, once I get back to the planet, or whenever I feel like it remotely, command this thing to drop back down and land in the base here. So it can reconnect up to the merge blocks here, and everything's good. That's the idea. There's been a couple ideas of what I've had to get the rover on this thing. One of which was, well, I can actually just have a flip down ramp, so you come up to the top up here, and you're basically just driving down onto a ramp here and then over. That was no fun. So I want to do a nice big ramp, and I said, well, I can kind of do a lift setup there. But that's the idea here, is run that, and I also need to turn off those thrusters I just added, because they're just only going to get worse if I leave them like that. Drain all my power. So, off, gentlemen. There we go. So that's the idea. And then this thing, what's going to happen to it is, well, when it finishes grinding itself down, come on, Bob, what is going on with you? Grinding it like a block every minute here. And I know all these are set to default automatically to be able to grind. I've got grinding enabled. 3, 2, 1. What the? Well, that's interesting. Apparently the configuration file for Bob's aren't working for me anymore. Because that should have automatically been set up as 313, 100, 100. I'll have to check my... Yeah, because all the other ones here are set up fine, so... It's okay, we can bulk fix them. This should now grind down a lot quicker. Because now all the Bobs up here should be happy with it. There we go. That's better. So the idea is... There's got to be a rover that can come up, sit on this. It's going to have to dock to it. And the docking point's going to have to be somewhere close to midline. I mean, it's not going to be perfect midline, but basically, I like this idea of a hovering launch platform almost. Kind of think about way back in the one of the ideas that was proposed for doing rocket launches and everything. Well, why can't we just have something like a giant helium-filled balloon carrying stuff up to, you know, or helium-filled levitated launch platform? I kind of like that idea, silly as it is, especially compared to what we can do with rockets now. But yeah, I like the idea of this thing being able to be commanded to come back down on its own and land. So, realistically speaking, a bunch of batteries, some solar panels, a backup reactor or two, should be able to keep it in the sky forever. A remote control and a antenna will work to let me get command of it once in orbit and just lower it back down to the ground. Lock it back on and poof, I'm done. That way I don't even have to mess. I can even put parachutes on this thing, and if for some reason it goes way off course, I can still at least try to land it. Mind you, that's the problem. Trying to figure out how this is going to work. I mean, at least a regular booster, it's a lot easier to just say, yeah, I can just strap parachutes on it and just land it. And then when I get back to the ground, I'll eventually go out and recover it and everything. This, I actually want to come straight back down. Go straight up, come straight down. And that's always a challenge in space engineers. Because no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, inevitably you are going to have to touch your mouse during an ascent. And you're going to run into problems where, oh, hey, now I'm slightly off keel. So what I also need to incorporate is a way for this thing to stay level. That would definitely help things out. Merge blocks and powering it from the shuttle will only get me up to orbit. Then once I get up to orbit, well, not to up to orbit, up to the max effectiveness of the Atmo engines. Once I get up there, though, if I detach, then the grid doesn't have any power. And it's just going to drop out of the sky. Batteries, I could keep them charged, but batteries are only going to work for so long, and if I forget to get to them while I'm in orbit, that is a little bit of a problem. The other thing I'm also thinking about is this makes it ideal for... I can actually carry extra cargo on this. Like, let's say I go up into orbit and everything, and I decide, oh, I need to, you know, I need to bring out some additional supplies. I could have those additional supplies loaded on here with like a little small grid launcher somewhere, unmanned, and fired off like a unmanned cargo ship, basically, and shuttle it out over to wherever I want to go. So that's what I'm thinking. The reality of it is going to be a bit trickier. This is about center line. We're going to stick our connector right about... No, that's not going to work. Not there. Not in that orientation. There we go. So I've got to be able to get a grid on top of that to launch. And again, that's where the whole idea of... what I should really do is do a side-by-side. Because that gives me 2 independent locking points, and it guarantees I'm sitting center on the vehicle there. So I've got between that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to drive it on. It's going to kind of be a wide profile, I think, which could cause problems here. But that was 5 with 2 for the wheels that I was driving up here earlier, so realistically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2 for the wheels, yeah. Inner profile. Build a base in the upper atmosphere on the planet. Well, logistically speaking, since we have relative damps now, you might remember there's an episode of Wasted's Workshop where Wasted and I tried to build the base that flew forever. So it was a solar-powered... Want to fill it up? Thank you. It was a solar-powered base, basically. And the idea of it was solar-powered engines that you basically have the base fly around the planet constantly. So at a speed that you can stay inside the atmosphere, that you're staying within range of the solar power. You know, you're staying in the sun all the time, going around the planet. You're tracking with the sun. The 2 problems with that particular base design was, 1, at the time, trying to land on something like that, that's in constant motion with any sort of small grid, because again, you've got to be able to pop off, go land, and then catch up with this thing, to do things like mining and whatnot, wasn't very feasible. It's much more feasible now that we've got relative damps. The second problem was that you need a way to keep the base level as it's flying around. So as you start going around the curvature of the Earth, you go around far enough and suddenly what was horizontal for you is now this, and then this, and this, until you get to the other side of the planet, in which case horizontal is now this. So you need something that can adjust the orientation of the platform dynamically based on its position. Or just constantly doing altitude trim. I'm pretty sure there's a mod out for that somewhere. Let's figure out what we're gonna do for our little craft here. It doesn't need to be a big craft either. I should also point that I have no desire to make it hideously oversized. You let me get away with... No, of course not. That'd be too easy. You're not gonna let me get away with cheating it in like that, are you? I'm gonna do it that way. Okay. Armored conveyor. Do I have you? Thought I had space bars. No, I put the X one on here. Or did... Maybe I did. Couldn't have, no, because that would be showing up differently. That's the small grid, that's large grid, okay. Just trying to remember what I actually had for mods for turning conveyor networks into something useful. That's a cube. That's a straight through. Which I guess I do need a cube, because I'm thinking, actually no, the cockpit would be up there, so let's do... I just don't exactly like how this particular thing is styled, it's not a very attractive system in my opinion. Spacebar did a far better job of coming up with something that genuinely looks pretty nice. Do 2 for that. So the centerline connector's there. Have some wheels coming out of... I can kind of thin up the profile a little bit too. I don't have to have the wheels that far out. I had them out there for stability. In fact, I can even get away with a big 5x5. Nah, not a 5x5. That definitely won't fit. 3x3 is the better way to go for that. It's a left wheel. I'm being pedantic and silly about my alignments, but that is my prerogative. They did use a self-leveling building to land on Mars Unquap, yeah, and the problem is it wasn't... That script works, but it's working by... I believe what we're basically doing with that is you calculate the position of where the rover is and its orientation based off the piston elevations. Well, you're having to evaluate the piston elevations. How do you translate that into engine, though, is the problem. Let's see. Cargo network out the side. That's the other thing I'm not 100% looking forward to, is the reduced size of ship inventories. That's gonna take a little while to get used to. So we got both ends there, sure. No 2-gen on that side, and do an oxygen tank on the other. So at least up there we've got some air to breathe. We need the adapters again. Tie those back in, and then 2 straights. There's your straight. That your straight, that's a straight. So very much more compact rover being built on this one. They actually put the... That's the left, that's right. Okay, good. It's worried I completely screw up the wheels again there for a second. Said drills in the bottom line, since it was based on the Space Marines base. Once converted station, drills are a source of resources. Yep. Well, keep in mind, this thing's going to have to... at first, what I really could do is I don't necessarily need to start and finish this tonight. Because you have to keep in mind, in order to do anything really as far as exploration goes, I've got to get up to orbit. And we've got to go around the world to the moon there. Complete opposite side of the planet. So realistically, I need that space base, and that needs to be a decently powered space base because there's stuff flying around up here. You're not seeing it, but someone shot down my shipment of paints. So I can't exactly trust on being alone up there, and the last time I went up there, there was definitely stuff starting to show up. So that is definitely going to be a problem. For the purposes of... The other nice thing is I'm keeping my... I want to try to keep my weight distribution low. I don't want this thing to be tip happy. So let's get some reactors on this. Preferably not in a potentially explodey place, is my concern. Bit better sheltered in there. 2 reactors. We've got plenty of storage there. That will get me onboard power eventually, because I can trigger... I believe I can. Oh, that's right. You're considered part of the base currently. No, you're too... Perfect mating, unfortunately, means I can't very easily trigger those. Connector, hopefully. You're considered. There we go. That should start powering some stuff through here, right? Yep. Pam's on the job. Or not Pam, Izzy's on the job there. Should also have some ice showing up over here. Yep, we're good there. Control panel. Actually, no, because you're just filling up the O2 tank down there. I'm fine with that. Actually, no, I'm not. What are you doing? O2. Generators on the station. All off, please. There is a much quicker way I can fill up that O2 gen. Or the O2 tank. Come here, Mr. Vent. Let's repressurize. Or depressurize, I should say. And now you, my happy-go-lucky tank, should be saying that you're filling up just fine. Yep. Beautiful. Okay. No sense in burning through all that ice I've got down there just to, I can just suck it all up from the atmosphere right now, right? Is until I suddenly start mysteriously choking inside the hangar here. That could be a problem. Could be a legit problem if I actually had a sealed off room right now. Okay, so you've got your own power. Let's... Oh, come on. Really? Control panel. At least you caught yourself without driving off anywhere. Lock. Thank you. Who says I need a cockpit to do this? Bah. Do they have modded weapons or vanilla? I'm assuming you're talking about Tenebris stuff there. Whatever happened to the Thugboat runabout Farrell was designing on stream once? The Thugboat runabout. Which stream? Was that the... Because it could have been a holodeck one. I mean, I've got this ugly duckling over here. That'll get me to orbit and back, but it doesn't exactly do it with style. Especially the tack-on rocket motor that makes 0 sense. Was I paranoid about getting out of orbit on that one? Yeah, can you tell? Speaking of which, I need to design some thrusters on this one. That's going to be tricky because the best spot to do it's going to be out the top. Could have sworn I had added Spacebar's conveyors on here. They're definitely not showing up for some reason. Yeah, okay, we'll have to keep using those then. Okay, you've got a turn on you. That... What I need to do is have them out the side. I'm planning to run the thrusters in here, so actually let's just put them... Because again, I want to try to make this as simple as takeoff as possible. So all the major thrust is going to be in a downwards direction. We'll stick minimal what we need to steer with. That's going to burn something off. I worry about leaving that one there. Which doesn't really give me a good spot for that. And then ups are going to be from one idea of how small I'm thinking and how low to the ground. I'm thinking about actually mounting the reverse thrust over here right off the reactor. But I also need to think about mounting up the cockpit on this too, and that is tricky to say the least. Let's get those thrusters off first. because I don't want those firing up while I'm down here on the ground, burning H2. And let's see, you are straight through. I need a joint section here, like a T and not really a cube, unfortunately, but yeah, let's just bite the bullet and just do it that way. Bad design, I know. Should not be using conveyors like this, but yeah, I might. Supposedly out of... Oh, insufficient spacing character. Okay. These guys I can use bendies on. No, you're not the right piece. That's the bendy piece. My apologies if I'm coming across a little softer. Oh no, that's a... Are you T-junction? Yeah, alright, fine. I found a T-junction that I was looking for. Let's go back to a cube, because you're definitely useful. Would help if I was looking at that preview image there, you know, the one that has a T on it? Very handy if I looked at that. Alright, so the way you're wired up currently, you run through here. We'll have our connectors down there for launch only. There'll probably be something I'll actually have to grind off once I get into orbit, in all reality. So that's our top deck. Let's grab... Get a cockpit on there. Yep. Port on the bottom, so that will be wired up. Let's talk hydrogen. Do I have anything... Darn well should have some compact hydrogen tanks that I can play with. Quite a few of them, in fact. Including one that fits pretty darn nicely. Do I really want to do that? That just looks like it's ready to explode if I try to do that. You know, 100% honest there. Hydrogen tanks on either side, and I'm actually going to go for some more traditional networking here. Really? Come on. Alright, fine. I give up. Izzy, I will give you back some of the stuff that's in my inventory. Yes, I don't need that many armor plates. I don't need to carry around all that stuff. Nope, you're not oriented right. T is not turned back on, but you immediately oriented it in the wrong direction. Okay. Good to know. Alright, now let's look at the hydrogen tanks here. And let's also check our O2 tank, because that should be topped off now. Yep. The good news is I can leave that vent on back and just leave it to depressurize, and it's not going to cause a problem. In space, there's no air up there to begin with. Now I can turn all the gens back on. There we go. Let's see, 30,000, so not a lot of capacity, but for short haul supply going up into space, I'm okay with that. And I can always stick more hydrogen on the launch platform too. Highly recommend heavy armor plating for the bumper. Well, I want to try to avoid as much weight as I can, but you do have a valid point there. But I lose it because I'm driving recklessly. I'm not quite as worried, as odd as that sounds. I mean, there's one thing to be said for putting whatchamacallit, heavy armor for the sake of trying to keep it together, but it doesn't always work. That's the problem. Why am I not seeing the part I'm looking for? There it is. Even though that is not going to make any sense whatsoever doing that. Give it a little bit of shape to what I'm building. Just in case I do something bad, like roll the rover. Which I'm far more likely to do. Gyros. We certainly need gyros. Cannot recommend those enough. Gyro steering can and will save your life. Yeah, I guess I'm not going to really have much of an interior here, so yeah, go ahead and place it there. Do I have... Yes. Let's get a Mr. Coffee going. Just so that way, if something bad does happen, I definitely have a respawn point. We'll put him in a silliest of places. Because I believe that mod requires it to be in a silly place. It must be in a silly place. Everybody knows it must be in a silly place. Yeah, you're in the range of the wheels, so you're not going to let me place that there. Alright. No big deal. We can recalibrate and adjust. This thing will go like a bat out of hell. Yeah. So that's the funny thing. Everyone's like, well, if I build something, it's going to take off into space. Like you get into this rocket-centric idea. So most people would say, oh, if you're going to build a rover to go into space, you need tons and tons and tons of hydrogen and back. Then inevitably what happens is when you get into space with a rover or something, and you want to drive around on it, you've got no way to cushion your landing, and well, that's what this kind of is. 4 engines on either side should do beautifully, and realistically I can probably even shut down half that thrust once I'm in space. But it means that I'm launching, you know, just by pressing spacebar, rather than trying to hold down W and then inadvertently losing connection of it. You know, I can switch out my hands easily enough and keep the spacebar held down. Let's see. So you're here. That's the... visibility's not too great from there, but that's not as bad. Alright, we've got hydrogen on board. We've got our capability to regenerate hydrogen and oxygen while I'm in space. We've got more than enough on board. I'm probably going to be running primarily off the O2 gen, but that should be enough to keep the thrusters operating at least a trickle. Since I've only got... I don't have anything in directionals, just the up, down. No, just the down, forwards, back. I need side. Let's actually get those wired up. But I don't need a heck of a lot. I mean, they are hydrogen thrusters. They are going to absolutely fly like the devil. Stick you there. My brain says, let's do something stupid like that. Yeah, I'll cook the wheels there. As the wheels go round and round, they're going to cook. A little tricky on the side thrust because of this. I might have to actually run those up top. Ooh, we're burning. Burning hydrogen. No, 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 no. Thrusters. Hydrogen. You don't need to be on. Directionals. I can actually work a directional in. There's one other modification I actually want to make as a result. So let's get our tube back on the bar. So you're going to go up here. Give me a 4-way intersection. Hydrogen, Hydrogen. Up thrust is good there. Let's get in and turn those. Off. 9 off. Okay. Directionals. Another thing I want is camera. Because trying to spot things long distance without a camera is never fun. Plate there, get a plate there. Plate there to hold those in. Yeah, I don't really need that complex of a gyro system for this, I suspect. Definitely want some more on the launch platform, but once I start getting into orbit normally, that shouldn't be as big of a deal. Let's also keep that camera somewhat safe. And since I know there's going to be something up in orbit inevitably waiting for me, what do we have for weapons options here? I haven't really added much into the pack for weapons because, well, I'm a relatively peaceful painter, right? Some vehicle turrets there I could try out. Get the azimuth tank cannon turret. Battle cannon, Gatling gun, assault gun, burst gun, the Sea-Whiz platform that I've got outside. Gemini twin turret. No AI or with AI. That one kind of looks interesting. Nice little low-profile turret on top. That actually fits in nicely. If I go through and do that just to give it a bit more protection on the thrusters. It's 4 cargo containers to get stuff up to orbit with. A little wonky that I can actually see into the system here. I kind of like that. Iron Hammer. Iron Hospital. What's the other thing I was thinking if I wanted to add? It's almost kind of like a ridiculously undersized Humvee body for the wheels here. Remember what happened with your first miner? Yes, I remember what happened with my first miner. It went and dug itself into voxels. It was not fun. Much not fun was had. So much not funning was having. Guess what I could do to cover those up for the time being. Because once I'm in orbit, I can also mess about with the kind of reconfigure things a little bit. Just so it's not quite so ugly on the sides there. Okay, Mr. Coffee, we've got 2 reactors. We've got onboard O2, onboard H2. 2 onboard H2 tanks. Thrust in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 underneath directions, so we've got all cardinal directions covered. To the point where if this has to land on its own, it should be able to. So the only thing I'm missing at this point would be something that fortunately still works in single player. Let's go with the very narrow angled wings and see if I can fit them. I might actually scrape these going uphill, so probably not a good idea to use those. What I could do is just go with... There we go. Give it a little bit of a stinger in the back. Kind of a stub wing on the side, I suppose. Just so that way it looks like it has a purpose to having tiny wings, because If I need to come in for a landing, I would certainly prefer to coast rather than necessarily come down on power. Because I will auger this thing into the ground at that point. Yeah, that's got kind of a nice little hopper attitude almost. Nice and small. Ready for onboard. Cargo. Need to draw some supplies in here. Actually, no, let's not draw supplies in. You've got power on board. You've got O2H2. Let's just go through and test this first. So we're independent of the base. I don't have any ammo in the gun anyway, so... Let me just make sure. Yep, Mr. Coffee's working, healing me up there. And... H2 supplies are good. Let's find that connector. Give it a name, throw it on the hotbar so I can turn the thing off. And now I can properly undo my parking brake. I mean, legitimately, I could actually fire this thing up and go for a proper test flight. I probably don't want to do that in the pitch of dark, though, which does bring to mind lighting. Before I forget that. Otherwise, it's going to be a very dangerous landing if I come down at night. Where do I want to fit lights on you? Where do I want to light? Amusingly enough, you know they might get destroyed back here, guys, but that's just what I'm thinking. Missing a block here. Just because they're point lights, they're tucked in pretty tight into the hull. If they get damaged, I'm not too worried about losing them there. I'll definitely throw some auxiliary lights on this thing, so if I do lose them, so be it, but... This thing will be more than bright enough on the surface of anywhere I go. Especially once I do that. Let's drop you to 0.5. There we go. Wheel check. Gyro steer is working good. See if I can actually get a little bit of... Yeah, just a little bit of a hop there. Holding your speed pretty nicely on the ice here. Gemini turrets are really, at least, on the receiving end of them. Well, let's also keep in mind, I'm not really worried about necessarily doing damage at this point. Not at least until I know what I'm facing up there. Okay, she stopped. She doesn't tip forward on her nose, so the balance here is pretty darn good. That's what it actually looks like here. You know what I miss on the survival update right now already for the beta is the fact that the center of gravity properly works. Hang on. Have to go away from that area first. And now I can come back over, and now my center of gravity might actually pop up. Alright? Alright? Yes? No? No, you're still not going to show center of gravity. WTF. Alright, something else I also have to do here because I need to actually be able to fit connectors on the bottom. Alright, what's the worst that could possibly happen? Yep, we're going to keep their power the same. It's the strength of the suspension. It's going to go up. Which is going to cause its own bit of nightmares here for the time being, but... Let's get that there to start with, then I can worry about can I get my connectors underneath it. what I need is, there used to be, maybe, let me check what I've got here. I thought at one point I had a mod on for compact connectors. I guess I don't have that still at this point, which is kind of a shame. Like a, almost like a half armor block connector. All that, and you overwrote my welder again. When will I learn? Apparently never. Alright, how's it going to drive with very stiff suspension and high ride offset here? Because I got to get you... That's not too bad. I mean, low center of gravity is definitely going to be a big help as it is already, because I'm not going to be tipping this thing. Speaking of, watch out for where I'm going. Ooh, yeah. She's good at this gyro spin stuff. Alright, that's not a problem. Can we pass the next hurdle? Which I definitely should be able to do. More than enough clearance to get up the ramp over here. Might ding the connectors going up over this, but we shall see. Apparently not. No Bob on board, too. That's another thing I need to think about. So, stock wheel settings aside from the propulsion, or not the propulsion, the suspension stiffness and ride offset, and she went right up over the hill perfectly fine. Even coast right over that little bit. Alright. She made it. She made it up the hill without a problem. Granted, not fully loaded. Granted, with a little bit of dinging of the connector down here. Or something got dinged. Probably the lamp. Yeah. I don't know. Something got dinged. Tell you what. This is probably the part I will wind up regretting. As soon as I get something up here for a solid platform. See if I can actually fly that thing. Will she fly is the next question. I should probably not even try to fly onto the platform. I should probably just get it up into the air and be happy if I can fly it and land it without splatting the rover all over the landscape. And Mr. Farrell will remember to actually blueprint this time, so that way if it works, I can rebuild it instead of saying, oh crap, I forgot to, whatchamacallit it. Let's see what we got. You and you. Wheels are really either side of the connection point, so I don't have to worry about those two inner spots right now, right? Sure, it'll be fine. Got a little independently launchable... I don't really know if I call this a rover or... It almost has monster truck connotations to it. Or aspirations, take your pick, I guess. Hopefully it's just not ass, period. You're in there, you're in there. Good. Alright. The other nice thing about this is this will definitely be much easier to turn in this space, especially... No. Back you go. Actually, if I go down too far here, I am going to borrow a little cup of admin tool here and say, I need daylight to fly, please. Because I really have no desire to pancake this thing into the side of a mountain. Just saying is all. Let's see. Wheeled rover. Probably technically number 9, I suspect. What am I calling this thing? Space buggy, actually. James, you've got a... That's what it is. It's a buggy. It's going up in space. Yeah, I take it I'm probably getting hung... Nope, I'm not getting hung up on the connectors. Okay. Good to know. You also definitely have... inclinations. Oof, that lag. Inclinations of wanting to just drift out of control here. Granted, I don't have friction turned up, but I could probably just launch off this ramp alone, I'll bet. What do you say? Let's see what we got. Oof! Yep, dug a hole in the ramp there. But nothing too serious. Aside from the... Yeah, I need to definitely find a better way to get a slightly less dramatic incline into the ramp here. Maybe just kind of extend the layers out slightly, because I don't think I can do a smoother diagonal off of this. That's just more a case of need to remember I need to ride the gyros on the way down. Actually, you're not that piece. You are that piece. No, you're not that piece. You're... Sometimes it's really hard to remember which one you're actually getting out of here for the ramps. Corner ramp mirror. You look like the right block. You are the right block. Thank you. Yeah, and more lighting on the whole ramp in general, definitely. But for the time being, the amount of light that I can generate off of this thing is pretty darn good. Alright, we have on board how much ice? Let's check to see what we're at. 103, so we're just shy of a full load of ice on this thing. So we actually do have a bit of weight on board. Let's do hydro. And then forward, backward, down, left, right. Let's not do down. Hydro steer. Setting up my usual hypermiling, I guess you could call it, thruster groups here. So I can turn you off. Don't know how that connect. Oh, did I lose the? Yeah, I lost the front panel connector. Oh well. She'll live. I'm more concerned about just testing overall use here. So groups. We want our hydro main, because that's our lifting power, our hydro steer, and our hydro brake. Alright, so, obviously, like I said, the way this is designed is I want this to be a vertical takeoff craft. So she'll be launching in this orientation, max speed already. Turn off our thrust. Go for a steering test. Yeah, not too bad. Let's see if we can fly this thing. Oh boy, yeah, she... Come on. Braking on, please. Alright, yeah, she'll not glide very well. She wants to tip over like crazy, so that's a bit of a problem. Yeah, she doesn't want to glide at all. I mean, it kind of works. But yeah, I'm not getting gliding so much. You still have your parking brake on? Well, that's why I was tipping forward. It's that glitch with the parking brake. There we go. And she still wants to tip forward. Alright, so lift engines are off. Rear thrust only. Yeah, that's a heck of a nasty drop there. Kind of feathering. Yeah, we're burning through our hydrogen pretty quick there, so let's... Those tanks do not last long at all. So they're a good supplement, but I'm not going to get much thrust on them in orbit or on landing here. Hover engines for extra cushion on landings, that's not a bad idea. I have to try to figure out where to put them, because not sticking them... I don't really have anywhere to necessarily stick them. That's all that great. I mean, I can certainly stick them in front and before the connectors, I guess. Plus, they would come in handy on the moon if I get this thing over there eventually. But yeah, as far as gliders go, that one just absolutely nearly pancaked multiple times. I was having to flick on the H2 on the landings there, just to try to cushion them, flick them on and flick them off. So that's no good. For a ground vehicle, it's not too bad. I mean, if I wanted to go out mining with this thing again, this is a very somewhat decent replacement for the Blue Rover that I had before. But definitely something's off on the center of mass on this thing. So I might need another gyro too. Maybe another two, honestly, as backup. It was absolutely feeling like it was going to cavort all over the place. And while I don't mind a rover that's got a little bit of a playful side to it, not when I'm falling down unpowered from orbit. Because again, if I'm talking space shuttle here, I'm talking technically an unpowered landing. So I might need to revisit the idea of the side wings here. These should still be generating some lift, is my understanding, but... Let's see, gyro. Actually, no, the gyros were responding pretty okay there. It was just the pitch forward that was the problem. So that says the hydrogen and all that. Yeah, I need more stuff on the back of the vehicle, probably. Something that just adds some weight to it. I know just the thing. Bob, would you like to come aboard? We're expecting you. Then, let's face it, that looks pretty cool. Sticking out the back like that, too. So now we've got some added weight from Bob's on board. These guys, let's see if they actually did set these up right, because... Yeah, 300, 100, 100. Huh. I don't know what wrong with the Bob placement over there last week, then. Because all those Bobs up there went in 1 week, and they clearly were not configured right at all. Whereas these guys are looking pretty okay. Don't have any parts loaded up. That's the other thing I'm also worried about, is coming down with cargo. Speaking of coming down with cargo, let's do myself a good solid here and plan for that. Just as another backup system, so we have a chute that we can come down on. Probably pancake into the ground on that chute and auger the cockpit in, but you know, we'll try. Connector up front, get that back on board. Hover, 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 hover. Gonna have to go for the non-armored ones, because I don't really have room for the armored ones. This is gonna be interesting too. I need to place cockpit right away. Because of that. Okay, let's flip me out of the hangar here. Probably should have thought about maybe not putting those on walls in the hangar. There we go. Let's turn your parking brake off. Alright, let's turn your steering jets on too. Yeah, it doesn't work too bad. It looks absolutely silly sitting here like that, though. Just a slight little drift there. Let's get the hover engines also recentered too. Experts apply force to center. Let's get a little more altitude hover off of that. Yeah, we'll keep the suspension about the same. The trick is I want to have this thing basically dive down a bit better. So let's go up in orbit. Get a bit of forward momentum on. Alright, let's see what happens here. Cut steering. Oh, those wheels are a perfect addition for that landing. Cut my steering back in. Just minimal thrust to hold station. Okay, that's doing pretty good. Let's get those hovers in so now I can actually adjust the altitude on the fly here. So we got a good safety network here. 2% power to keep those running. I'm happy with that. Let's look at... Nope. G menu. Oops. Hover. Increase altitude min, decrease altitude min. Yep, decrease. Because obviously I want to have something where I can also turn those off too, but really coming down all that fast, I'm even happier with that. 6 to cut them. There we go. And turn off the thrust because now I don't need it. Really don't need to do a hydrogen-powered wheel spin on this thing. Yeah, that is doing pretty good, and I don't need it to go very fast. I mean, this kind of speed would be perfect on the moon. In fact, I can also add one other thing on here. Maybe 2 other things. I have to remember. I think I added the smaller solar panels to the mod list. Or heck, I'm pretty sure I started off with them because I know the other craft has got them. Let's just get close enough where I can actually use Bob out here. Because the last thing I want to do is be stuck up in orbit when I run out of power. That is over here. I'd fit batteries if I could, but I can't really think of a good spot in the hull without potentially dropping some of the connectivity. Actually, I guess I could kind of do that right here. It'd be a bit more top-heavy to do this, but... yeah, let's drop azimuths in there. We'll also make it a bit heavier, too. 2 batteries spare. I will say I'm looking forward to, in the survival update, not having to use 120 freaking power cells for every battery I build. You see Farrell flying a rover around. Yeah, chitty chitty bang bang. That kind of aligns to what's going on here. Kind of continue that glide slope look forward. Maybe give it a slightly more angular chin to it. You know what I'm really thinking, and it's not long enough, unfortunately. Let's see if I can find it here real quick. Actually, no. I'm honestly, no, don't do that, Keen. I'm kind of thinking of the vehicle from Thundercats, what's his name's tank? That's the kind of vibe I'm getting off this thing right now. Especially with this little front fascia here for some reason. And if we're really gonna go for the look, let's really go for the look. The completely useless lights in the front. Can I get away with some brake lights in the back? Yes. We have room for that. Now we're starting to get somewhere here. Okay, corner lights in the front. Stock settings, please. And the brake lights, of course. There we go. So now I know which direction this thing is going. Okay, so that works. The onboard hydrogen's not a good supply, but the O2 gen will keep it going. I need a parachute. Let's get a couple of those put together. I'll probably be keeping those on a manual supply. Do I even have any? Nope. Assembler 4. Oh man, I missed the search system already in the assemblers. Even if only just for that, I will say, Keen, please give us that survival update. Should have. Shoot. You're building it right now for me. Oh, right, canvas. Yeah, because that makes total sense, Keen. O2, because I'm also seeing some batteries that are running, or O2 tanks that are running low, or H2. Not O2. O2, I got plenty to breathe. Alright. Let's drop off some parachute material. Bind said chute. Toggle an open-close state on it. And parachute hatch. Auto deploy is off. Okay. Actually, while I'm thinking about that, shoot. Auto deploy on off, please. Just in case I'm really panicking as I'm coming down. Alright, so 117,102. So I know this is not going to have enough thrust to get up into... Actually, how heavy are you? Granted, you're carrying probably more hydrogen. Hydrogen tanks... Well, that's all the on-base hydrogen tanks. I need... why are you reporting those as your onboards? Huh. Interesting. Because you don't... Oh yeah, I do have 2 on there. Okay, so 80,000, so... Wow, just the same rough size. That's not a lot over here. That's kind of scary. I wish I knew what the sizes of all these were. Small grid, large grid. Where can I work one in? Oh, do I really want to put that right next to suspension? Not really. Need more weight out the back, technically, so let's do... This is where we find out that I'm going to start bumping this thing against the ground there. Problem I have with the azimuth hydrogen tank is it's not properly skinned. It's just the oxygen tank relabeled, and they didn't relabel the graphics on it. Thank you, game. Wanted to keep that. Let's look at getting that vent back on board, because that is a far superior way of gathering oxygen for it. What are we doing over here anyways? Tank, a tank, a tank. What do you got? Far more. Okay, so this should actually last it better in orbit. pressure is on. Maybe build a little bit of a protective enclosure for this stuff down here. Kind of a skid plate almost. Just don't fly like Jan when flying your truck, Feral. Well, yeah. Bingo fuel means bingo fuel. You don't linger around on scene just because you want to. Run out, you GTFO. Gives me a bit more of an ass to the thing, but, well, so be it. Alright, how am I on ice right now? Ooh, burned quite a bit of it up there testing, but worth it. Up you go. And cut the steering. Okay, let's see if we can actually glide her in. Oh, that's interesting. How am I... Yeah, you really do not want to let me... Okay, glide. Anything? No, you really do not want to do anything with that, huh? Almost forgot to have my safety measures on there. Yeah, look at that. That's ridiculous. I'm getting no glide off the wings. So now it's almost like they're just broken in single player, too. On the other hand, hover engines are working beautifully. Maybe not how you'd expect. I'm damaging the connector there, but that's only for hitting the launch craft, so I'm not too worried about that. Here, it's this way, please. Let's do high speed. Worst case scenario right here. Ooh, there went the connectors. Yeah, I may have to rethink the docking process here for that. That was with a 14 point some odd altitude on that too. Also with the parking brake on too. Which we know screws up stuff. Alright. Without the connectors, let's try one more test flight here. I'm gonna see you come down at a bad angle here. Ooh, that's a risky landing there. Uh-oh, you bounced. I didn't want you to bounce. Okay, let's get to a spot where I can there. Turn your hovers. Turn them off at always the wrong spot there. See, now the wings felt like they're giving me something there, but I guess not. Yeah, well, it could be wingspan. I mean, it's as far as a light grid goes, it's not that heavy. Well, actually, here we go. Let's give it a good ground test here. We got an unknown signal coming in. Could be anything coming out of the sky here. Rescue one away. Okay. Let's turn on the hovers just so I have it. Maneuvering jets. See how long that the hydrogen last year. We're no longer a rover. We are a hideously fast-going vehicle. Here we go. Cut the underside jets. Land on the tree, smash the ground. You done? Done running around? How bad did I do to it? What did I do? Let's see. What did I grunch? Yeah, the connector again. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. And Bob is already helping me out. No, I don't want you to do that. Give me my special item first. Great, a badge drill. Thank you very much, Bob. Saved me the annoyance. Okay, so, yeah, definitely need to think about... that front connector is definitely going to be a problem unloading. The bottom connectors are definitely going to be a problem trying to stick it to something, so I may have to legit go for a, kind of some sort of wonky setup. I'm kind of thinking... Cool thing is, the engines are more than enough to keep me on hydrogen. That's more than enough to lift me, so... If I treat it like I've been treating a lot of my other ships here with just the superior downforce there, then that'll work just fine. Hovers on. Cut power. Yeah, that's a bit of a trick to have to try to fly that one around. Get a wheel down, maybe? Just a little bit. Really love to not have to use hydrogens to stop once I'm on the ground or take the risk of turning them off at a bad spot. Yeah, she is definitely top heavy. I wish I had the center mass on. And I could always increase the wingspan, too. I mean, there is that. Didn't really feel like I had a lot of options in that area, but... Not for something that would be tight, compact, and kind of fit the overall feel, but I could get something in there. 4 hovers, I mean, honestly, at this point, the damage that I'm picking up from landing, it's gonna happen regardless. It is pretty much guaranteed that I'm gonna do some damage coming down, even with more hovers on it. It's just from the way that the hover engines work, they're not gonna all magically kind of put their weight into everything automatically. No, what I'm gonna focus on at this point is glide path. Because if we're not gonna be able to glide off these things, then I'd rather even just drop the weight and cosmetic, form over function, you know, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's relaxing survival. I'm just, you know, derping around with it, see if I can make it work. Definitely gonna be an angled wing of some sort. Definitely not gonna be a very big wing. I need to be sort of on the smaller side. Ooh, actually, it doesn't look too bad. Kind of fits in there pretty good. I wish I had some way to connect these 2 points together, but that doesn't look too bad. How much hydrogen do I have left here? How much ice? Yeah, definitely still burning up quite a bit of ice, but we'll go for hover engines on. You can kind of bounce the lift off too if I'm careful. Getting anything? No. Turn those on and translate motion a bit further there. Yeah, I'm still not feeling a glide there. Still has that tendency to drop down, but if this is the case, why are you trying to go in circles? Okay, hang on. I think I might know what's going on here, guys. Why I'm getting this weird tipping. Mr. Xbox controller, you may want to go away for a short while. As nice as it is having that capability, you may be having slightly miscalibrated sticks causing problems. There we go. See if that works better. Late to the party. Did he finish up the ramp and have the vehicle? Yep, the vehicle took it just fine. Surprisingly. Actually, graunched it out, trying to turn it around, and now I'm playing around with what may become the official one, but let's, what I might want to do is actually just stick Atmos on here somewhere. I mean, not that I mind having the hydrogen thrust available, I need that in orbit, but yeah, what's going on here? The wheels are on now, that might have been the problem. Yeah, that was the problem. Wings and wheels. No, there's... See how it's tipping forward to the right? That's not me. That is decidedly not me. Alright, you flying straight and level now? No, as soon as I hit the up thrust is when it's happening. Alright. Supporting thrust has been cut off, and now she's behaving more like a winged craft. In fact, yeah, she's actually flying on her own at this point. Not doing that bad of a job either. Of course, I'm on... There we go, I just lost the hydros there. I am probably out of ice on board, so let's engage our hover, our passive restraint landing system here. Come down on the tree. Nope, we're good there. Alright. Missed the tree, that's always a good thing. Oh, this is perfect. Okay, let's also pop those. With a not-so-smooth landing, but not bad. No, parking them in flight wasn't having any influence on them, unfortunately. I've seen things, you know, I know from the Blue Rover, the wings can do some weird things if you've got wheels in flight, but parking them is usually actually causing problems, rather than fixing them, from what I've seen. Gyro, yep, she can still gyro pop. So we're in good shape with that. Gyro steer is still an option. Of course, I'm completely out of hydrogen. Let's make sure I get over that fine. Take the ramp at a little bit of a speed this time. Make sure I have room. Yep, up she's going. Plenty of room. In fact, she'll jump as I go over the, she'll jump that spot completely. Alright, so that's working out pretty nicely with the caveat of two problems. First off, the onboard hydrogen supply is not bad, but means I'm gonna have to go up with a lot of ice or find a place to get ice up there very quickly, which is, of course, a problem, because up here, yeah, there are no space rocks to mine. Not a single asteroid is in the vicinity, and I've got to cross over there to the moon. So we've got that to worry about. Second problem is going to be cargo, because obviously I've got very limited capacity for it. And again, keep in mind, this is something that it needs to land on the moon, so it's going to have to get up into space to the space station that I have yet to build first. So I've got time to kind of figure things out here of how to better mate this to the craft over there. I may have to merge block it. I'd rather not, because every time you merge block it, things get a little wonky with the cockpit controls and everything. But I may also be able to find the conveyor block that would work better for that. Conveyor over here is absolutely a problem and has repeatedly been getting smashed off on all of these flights and landings. Largely because it keeps trying to nose down and to the right, and I don't get that. The whole craft should be balanced. I shouldn't be seeing... I turn you off. I turn you on again. Anything? Yes? No? Maybe? Possibly? What's your deal? I hate that bug in the game. Looking forward to seeing that hopefully fixed. Because right now I can't really determine what to do next to try to fix this. That's the real kicker. I did lose the little bit of... Yeah, I lost my little details back here from the suspension. Oh well. It is what it is. It looked nice, but I'm not gonna worry about that. And curve. You down slightly. I don't want to put a piece here because I know the king actors are going to freak out over that, but... Another thing I could do is... I could fit the vent down here. Or at least one of the vents there. And then the idea is we'll set this one to depressurize. And that way I can get rid of this one. Unfortunately, that's a good hydrogen tank. I might want to even swap these out. Because I think these definitely had more capacity than the onboard VCSs. That's 30,000 liters full. That's 50,000 full. Yep. Let's strip them. They are under... in here. Can I get my head in there? Just a little bit of my head, Keen. That's all I need. They're empty, so I don't mind taking them out now. If I'm gonna do this, let's do this while I've got the... all the parts and everything down here for it, and while they're empty. And then monkeying around trying to connect them up was this guy. No, that was the one that's not reskinned properly, right? The azimuth hydrogen tank. The one that still says oxygen on the side, silly enough. They're just reusing a texture somewhere, but it's kind of silly. You do that, and you do that. And then we can get rid of the one on the back, so the rear end's not sticking out quite so bad. And what that will do is let me... just because I feel I really need a bit more power for forward steering. Steering motor that I had was not all that great before. So hydrogen needs to include that. Forward thrust needs to be off by default. Steering needs to include that one. Brake is actually hydro down. Oh, we'll leave that as is. Alright, so now I just have to figure out where I'm going to hook you up here to get you back on the network. Let's see, you don't need quite as high of a ride height either, and I can also lighten the suspension a little bit too, because I've got that pretty stiff. Let it absorb the shock a bit better. So let's actually get me back down to more reasonable values. Yeah, because I got more than enough clearance for that. gonna load you. Kind of around here. Right, that should be about the right spot. Come on, parking brake off. Let's see what we got. This will be good enough, I believe. Now, how far am I off? I'm off. Oof. Alright, I guess I do need the increase on the suspension here, huh? Offset. Or just pop a wheelie on it, right? I mean, legit, that's all I need to do is get up to a point where I can connect it. Or I can just do this with the hovers too. What am I saying? I have exactly what I need here to do this properly. And I'm ignoring the fact I've got the tools to do it with. Okay. You'll need to jump up that high. Or hover that high either. What the heck? Power engines. Would you like to... Yeah, just put me back on the ground, please. That is acting wonky. Thought I could kind of hover my way up to them, but that doesn't seem like it's going to be the case. I do this very slowly. Yes, no, one more. Oh, come on. The docking port is right there and you're not lifting off the ground now. There you go. You want to meet your friend there? Maybe. There we go, you're trying. I can feel you trying. Aha! Locked on. Or I could just brought some ice over to it and turn on the hydro engines briefly. One of the two. You should start filling me up, hopefully. Or not. Turn the base O2 gens on. Yeah, I'm not completely out of ice, am I? No. Okay. Mr. Onboard O2 supply, and also Izzy. Why are you not hooking up? You are locked onto the base. You've been passing cargo fine all day here. You've got that access port back there, which I know is set up properly. Why is the O2 gen not working properly? Why can't I drag anything into it? Oh, right. For all of you who have been screaming at me for the last few minutes, yes, you are allowed to say I told you so. Or that you told me so. No. Oh, you... Thank you for once again, Keen. Don't want to be salty, but avoid it. Maintenance tunnel. I need you T-shaped. Not plus, not that, not hub. Give me my tea. My happy little tea. Because I want this to have a full-on... Do I actually have the adapter for that? Just 'cause I feel like I'm going to be a little silly today on this. Curved maintenance tunnel, cargo. There should be a curved adapter here, as I recall. Because I know I've used them down on the bottom. Curved maintenance adapter cube. Similar. T-shaped maintenance. Curved, T-shaped. Curved maintenance adapter. Perfect. We're gonna do something, we're gonna do it right on this one. Just because I'm being pedantic. Like to ignore you guys all the time. No. Well, not all the time. Maybe 80% of the time. You guys have good suggestions. If I think something's a good idea, I'll certainly say, hey, that's not a bad idea. Alright, let's try this now. O2 Gen has got ice on board. Okay. In fact, you can steal out of that. And I'm not worried about the base being low on that, so... Where are we at here? Tank. Azimuth. These are all filling up nicely. We'll have that in good shape soon enough. And actually that eliminates the need to worry about an elevator for here. I can keep this as a platform and go directly over to here. This system's the problem though. These are not gonna work. So that's no good. How am I going to connect you up to this in such a way that it's not going to cause problems? Don't want to merge block it. Don't have many connection options. Where are... Where's the, whatchamacallits I saw for this thing? Okay, here we go. The... Could do merge... Could try the merge tunnels, actually. What do I need for you guys? Because that's not that big. Or maybe just next time I need to... I have to try to keep in mind that I'm not sending this thing into orbit immediately. Merge tunnel. Okay, so that's the adaptation side. Actually, I might be able to make this work. Just not necessarily there. Or just landing gear, but I don't like landing gear because you're getting into multi-grid wonkiness there at that point. Landing gear. Tell you what, I'm gonna hold off on actually worrying about that system right now. Because like I said, this doesn't have to be able to get onto it until we get it into orbit proper. Let's turn off the hovers on that so I'm not burning base power holding it in the air. What I can do, though, is actually get this launch platform tested. And actually do something useful with it, with the craft I've already got. So like I said, I'm not too thrilled with how I've had to work all of this weird wonkiness in. I mean, this is just purely useless on the front. That's not even technically supposed to be there, so... Let's see... Atmos are on. Ions are off. Let's see if I remember how to even fly this thing. Oh, God, yeah, she barely holds herself in the air on the Atmos on this thing. Because realistically, I do have to try to get some other parts up there into orbit. So I can kind of kill two birds with one stone and test the launch platform while at the same time getting some parts up there. So there is that to keep in mind. Do I have a gear? Yeah, it's in a wonky spot, but I do have one. Let's see if I can try to center this a bit better. It's going to be off the booster's center of gravity, but should like to lock onto that location. Are you locked on? Are you hovering? Are you on? Are you off? You are locked. Okay. Engines aren't going to be trying to destroy anything, but we're going to turn off the damp so that way it's not trying to tip it when it goes up. At the very least, it'll be easier to escape from this thing if things go horribly wrong going up in orbit. We also need to stick an antenna on this thing, which is a bit of a... Well, actually, no, beacon will work. No, I do need an antenna. If I'm flying this thing down manually, I need an antenna. So actually, that works out nicely, because I can just stick that as soon as I go back in here and lift it up just enough. You stay there. I am going to... Okay, no, you aren't grinding it down. I thought I saw sparks flying there. And thank you for also getting... Keen's so tired of having my tools overwritten in my inventory. Please stop that. Pretty please. Cherries on top. You know, wide enough? No, probably not wide enough. Alright, let's try that one again. There you go. Extra parts, sure. We'll just offload them. They can go up in orbit with me. Alright, let's see what we got. Back, down, left, and a bit, tiny bit back. There. Nope. Let's turn... Remember when you're getting out of the cockpit to use the correct key at all times. And preferably not constantly relock! Hydrogens! Get your butts on. I hate autolock. I hate autolock. Oh, come on. Turn! Blasted something off of this thing. No idea what it was, but... You, my friend, suck. Find the stupid gear. Turn it off. Alright. Pain in the butt. Using up hydrogen, I don't want to. Just because you got abs... Oh yeah, great. Now the landing gear in question broke off amusingly. That's even better. Alright, that's okay. We'll find a better place to put the landing gear. Something that doesn't look like an abortion board or like that thing. Really? Come on, steel plate. Trying to do everything. It's yanking all the stuff out of my freaking toolbar. It's mass chaos living together, and I gotta remember, it's supposed to be relaxing survival. You're supposed to be here to enjoy the game that is Space Engineers and not run into any problems because of weirdness going on. We're all here to have a little bit of fun. Just kind of enjoy things as they are. And try not to want to wantonly murder people just because something isn't working quite right. See, the problem with this thing is it's not going to take off right either because it was not designed. It was designed for a vertical launch and not a horizontal launch, so it's not going to be a perfect takeoff option. We've got an antenna. We need a reactor on board. If I can type reactor properly. Let's get one per side. These are going to be manual feed reactors, by the way, because they're not going to be hooked up to a cargo network anywhere. Gyroscope roll control is almost non-existent. I hate that. Yeah, it's one of those things that craft is heavy enough it needs extra gyros, but you put more gyros on, and you start actually losing gyro control, which is kind of odd, but sure, whatever. Solar panels. Let's get some of those on. Construction components. Okay, fine. I got some construction components right over here. Let me shove them down your gullet. And then Bob shall be happy. And some azimuth batteries would be nice. To round out the party. A little more weight at the corners. Gyroscopes are also needed. So let's get those in before I really run into trouble. One on each side. And a remote control block if I want to actually bring this thing down from down here. Otherwise, I'm really going to be having a lot of nightmares with that. Camera blocks as well, so that way I know which way I'm... Interior plate. Why do you need interior plate to build a remote control? Keen, in what world does that make sense? Especially with, actually, that's an interesting thing. In light of what they have said, done with the whole progression, considering that interior plate is effectively decorative block, are you now completely shafted? I assume they must have made a change to the remote control build states. I can't remember if they did. I didn't actually play around with those on the whatchamacallit, on the test. Camera in the front, camera over by the merge blocks so you know when you're lined up right. Possibly another camera on deck, just so you can see what's going on, if anything's on the platform. Which would also suggest putting one over here probably wouldn't be a bad idea somewhere. Flight operations cameras. Not going to worry about a Bob because we're going to have 0 onboard cargo capacity. Medium. 100 for each side seems pretty reasonable. Just keep this in the air for quite a long time. And it'll keep Izzy from going into tailspin trying to actually put uranium in them too for the time being. Alright, gyros, lift, since I'm not flying this thing up connected, that's the next problem. So legit, what I do need to do actually is, damps are still on. Alright, lift a little bit. Connector underneath that, we'll hook up to that. Platform is going to be a bit on the wonky side. Antenna range, also another good call there, guys. Definitely will need to adjust that ever so slightly. Okay. Damps are off. I need to turn off the thrusters because I need to keep the damps on to control this craft. And for the purposes of any sort of emergency... There we go. Alright. Got that. What do I need to take up to orbit with me? That's the next question. I have the... Alright, antenna. Forgot about that antenna. Get the antenna range boosted. Okay, I'm guessing you're... Yeah, you're that antenna. Okay. 50,000 range. I mean, we should be... 1,500 should be good. I don't need 50,000. I don't need 50 kilometers, because if it's 50 kilometers, it means it's crashed on the other side of the planet, and I'm trying to find it. At that point, I'd rather build a new one. Cargo to go up with me. Background, Lucas smiles, cackling like a madman. Ooh, radio signals, you say. Yeah, this is a calculated gamble, but it's an unarmed platform. It's not got much on it, and if it crashes, so be it. If it crashes down on the base, really, so be it. Then they do kind of deserve it at that point. Alright, I was going to take a look at orbit. Mr. GPS for the space base. Wherever the heck you are, Space Base 1. I do apologize on the world I uploaded. I realized just now I didn't put the LCD down to put the GPS waypoints in. Sorry. Come on. Nope, nope, nope. Slow. Why do you have to make it so that you have to hold shift down to slow the camera down on a scroll? So then when you go off shift, it just looks weird. Alright, we've got up in orbit, bare bones defense. We've got a connection point. We've got an O2 gen. We've got a beacon up there that does not appear to be running. We've got a solar panel that's putting out some power, but not a lot. I would say the beacon's probably not... No, because we got a reactor going up there. Why? Oh, right. I probably just turned off the beacon just to avoid Reavers from getting at it or something. Or maybe. I don't know. What is... Oh, right. I just put down those blocks to have something to build off of, right? Okay, so... Missing 2 thrust directions? Not necessarily, because the way that this is set up... It's got thrust in all 4 cardinal directions. It's got up thrust. I don't really care about down thrust because, in all honesty, it's staying in gravity. So all you really do is, you're not going to go dropping down at a dramatic rate, but I don't want this thing dropping down at a dramatic rate anyways. I want it to take a nice slow drop down, and that way it's a controlled descent. I don't have to worry about it, but yeah. There's thrust in all 4 directions, trust me. At least 2 thrusters in all 4 directions because I've got them posted at the corners. So we got this covered. Guess what I kind of need is... I didn't see any batteries up there, so let's grab some parts for an azimuth battery. Or 2 or 3, because that would come in pretty darn handy. Enough room in inventory. 190 more power cells. Seriously? Okay. You can have that. No, you're not supposed to... No, you're not supposed to do that. No, I don't want you... No, I don't You're driving me batty. You're supposed to be remembering what I've already pulled for stuff. And everyone keeps saying, oh, why don't you just do the shift click thing? And all it just does is queue up more parts. 38 more power cells, fine. Maybe it actually is remembering it for once because it's changing it every time I go down there. Not much room for cargo anyways. Oof. Especially because I'm carrying around the extra ice over there. Okay, there we go. I did get everything. Just not used to it. I thought it was the shift click thing you had to do to actually request it. But no, that's just to actually request it. Cargo. Find also the O2 gen. Fill up a little bit before I go. Hydrogen tank should be full. Let's make sure though. Full, and ox tanks are topped off as well. So theoretically, damps are on. Find our atmospheric thrusters. All these are now on. Except for the ones on board, which I'll turn off. Trust but verify that these are all indeed on. On. Good. Good, because I would hate to take off and have this thing start veering wildly in an unexpected direction. Good and good. 2 of those. Onboard power is sufficient. 6 heavy atmo thrusters should really be enough to do this. I'm going to take the start of the flight from here first. The other thing I've also got to do is disconnect safety backup. Alright. If this is going to work, it's either going to work and everything will be good, or I'm about ready to pancake my only decent launcher, surface-to-orbit launch capabilities. Or detector, no, won't need that. I'm trying to think of anything else I want to throw on this thing. Antenna should be enough. Remote controls in place. I think we got everything. Let's find those merge blocks. Gantry merge. I know this is going to turn all of them off, but... Alright, at least I don't have anything serious below me. Well, I say that, and I've got the tiny little prototype launch vehicle there, potentially, but... Okay, we're off, and... Oof. Yeah, she doesn't have enough power to keep level flight by much. Why are you drifting down? Are you... Hydrogen's on for some reason. Turn those off, please. Yes, already this launch is gone screwy. Beyond screwy, actually. Why did you detach and completely blow off the entire front of the craft? Including the cockpit. Now you're locked and I can't control what you're doing. WTF? I gotta get a cockpit on you, stat, because otherwise this thing's gonna tip over and take you with it. Alright, someone want to explain? Just get all the thrusters on, please. Detach. Are you kidding me? No, stop locking. Oh, for the love of all that is... What thrust direction are you missing? None. Every single one of these thrusters is on. I've lost weight on this thing because I've lost the entire front cargo assembly. Come on. Up. Get off this... Amusingly, I've got enough power on this thing to actually control that flight. But I can't actually lift this thing off the surface of the flight deck here. In what universe does this make sense? Come on, level out. Danged if I'm not getting a launch off this thing before it falls to pieces. The other grid's fighting me the whole way up here, because its damps are not off. Alright. Not perfect. You're trying to tip again. Damps off. Okay, so apparently the thrust in that direction is not sufficient to keep it level. Come on, slow down. Slow down, Mustang Sally. Yeah, as a launch platform, it definitely would need a lot more side-to-side translation thrust. This thing is pissing me off. I don't know what its problem is now. I mean, great, I'm running off. Look at this, I'm already dropping down again. What the hell? This platform's got more than enough capacity to stay in the air. Hell, it can thrust like crazy there, but for some reason we're not getting enough vertical thrust. Won't have enough to build another Hydra, probably, but we'll give it a shot anyways. Yeah, thanks for also, once again, I didn't want you to... Yeah, I need that... I need the welder. I need my welder game. Please stop overriding it. Grid, probably don't have anything else. Probably lost the bobs on you, I'm willing to bet, because otherwise you'd be doing something right about now. Yep, bobs are gone. Alright. Can you just sit me down this thing? Thank you. Alright, wait. God damn it, Keen. This is beyond pissing me off now. Mr. Farrell is starting to lose some of the relaxed survival chill. He's starting to feel a bit more red Farrell. As in salt. Have anything on board to construct with? No. Of course not. Why would I have that? That'd be too convenient. No tubes. Fine. We can get rid of you. Get rid of you. Ions. I don't know why your ions on. They're not going to do any good either. That's just sucking up power. Ions off. Hydrogen. Stop blowing out all the hydrogen. Should be more than enough gyro power to flip this thing onto its back and get into a launch orientation with the Atmo engines at least. Except for that stupid flippin' engine there. Or gear. Please, for the love of God, I do not want auto lock. Unlock. Get me the hydrogen engine controls. Steering controls. Atmo controls. Confirm the Atmos are on. Hydrogen. Launch orientation, burn. I don't have the proper rigging on the bar for this right now either. I should have thought about that. G menu, groups, I need my feathering. Steer, steer, main, increase, decrease. There we go. A little faster, please. I don't want to see that stuff go down. Come on. Reorient. Oh, for the love of God. Seriously? She doesn't have any launch capability now. I am... There we go. Now I got my main Atmos going. Get the speed up while we can there. Alrighty. The shell has no lift. It does have lifting thrust. It's sitting right there on the bottom. But the craft literally was refusing to move in that direction at all. And even if I was applying forward thrust, it wasn't moving at all. It wasn't until I was tipping very nearly backwards off the end of the thing that things finally started to say, oh, hey, I see you're trying to move stuff. Yeah, I guess we can do that. Let's see. H2 on board, good. I'm going up with no supplies. I'm getting out of the atmosphere. Let's dial back our hydrogen thrust. I don't need quite that much. And I just want to ride the limit of what I need for thrust here. Since I know I'm not launching with a full load of hydrogen. And the Atmos are losing effectiveness, but with gravity going down... There we go, we're getting there. Just, again, drift now. I don't have my group set up properly, so that's not gonna help. Drop thrust a little more. Would you stop drifting? Okay, altimeter's still rising. But I suspect I'm getting a false reading on speed right now because of the drift. Please not do this. Or that I'm not even getting out of the atmosphere at this point, too. There's entirely a possibility here. So I am maxed out on speed and still slowing down. Yep. Alright, we're boarding. Abort launch. Yeah, because look at how far I've drifted off there. Turn the that off. We'll go down on Atmos once they get a purchase on the air. Alright. Two large lifting Atmos in front were destroyed with the bob and the connectors. Yeah, I mean, everything was pretty much ripped out. I figured with enough weight ripped off the front end, it might have been capable, but no. It needed the extra hydrogen boost engine that was on the back there. That's okay. I should still be able to at least land this thing vertically back at the spaceport. The other thing I'm also noting is the antenna for that is now over there in the mountainside. So thank you, Keen, for that one. No idea why that was spinning wildly out of control. Why it was sinking when it had clearly more than enough thrust to get up in the air. Even with the thrusters on this thing turned off, it was still sinking slowly. That made no sense to me. Even though it's got enough side thrust to hold it with no weight on board, because there's minimum weight on that thing. Feeling a bit of the salt to the keen today, it seems. At least this thing I know has the, can coast it if I have to, so. Yeah, those are on. Except, braking, none. No, there are there. They are there still. I've got all of my forward atmo braking intact, so it's not holding me, mind you, but it's okay. This actually looks pretty nice from up in the air. Turn off the HUD there. Kind of a nice little, not so much when the LOD was low, but once you start getting in there, it's not too bad. She looks good from above, I think. The important thing is I did not drop anything on the rover. The rover is intact. In fact, as I recall... Oh, come on, game. Why did you just freeze like that? Holy moly. That big freeze you saw on stream there was not the stream, that was the game. In fact, here, let me show you something. This is about the attitude I have to hold. I'm like this. That's gonna slow me down. We'll see how far I can pitch over before I have to get back on the tail again here. But that's because this was never designed to land with a lot of that thrust missing, unfortunately. Which also means I can't... Yeah, alright, you know what? Thank you, game, for turning off my damps. That was incredibly unhelpful. Just drop me straight to the ground. Trust you have capability of at least building the landing gear again, please. Nothing else, I can always just fly near enough to the base to get Bob engaged. Alright. In fact, we should probably do that. Let's close distance here a bit. She really has no thrust for this direction, unfortunately. She's capable of stopping her motion in that direction, not too bad, but... Run around the corner. Might as well put this facility here to use, right? I think I can clear the clear it if I remember not to, since my directions are all messed up right now. Just park her right in front here. I'll do for now. Would you like to lock? You've been spending all evening finding useful ways to lock. I've ground you down and rebuilt you, so you can't tell me auto-lock. Yeah, the salt is strong tonight, guys. The salt is very strong. How much ice did I just blow on that? Half the... well, yeah, 3/4 of it, actually. Alright, let me make sure I've got enough hydrogen myself here for this. We'll go off and find what happened to the launch platform there, because that was kind of annoying. Why that would just suddenly... Why do you have... Izzy, you are really starting to infuriate me now. This is not good. Stay nice and happy. Yeah, well, no, this thing was always meant to be retired. It was never meant to go up. It was just, I had it, it was suitable enough, it could go up into space. Figured a quick little jaunt up there to drop off some supplies would be fine. Wasn't expecting any problems. I mean, the second I actually dropped it off the birch blocks here, it immediately dropped and went back to the right. Just like this. It's now turned on its hydrogen thrusters and is burning away stuff, but that's because it was confused. Grab you that way. Stop burning. It's acting like... I wonder if that glitch is back. I wonder if that slow turn glitch is somehow back. It doesn't make sense that it is, because this thing is not trying to move around. And even though it's powered down, when that little glitch where things just start to slowly rotate, kind of like this. I can't simulate it very well because of the lack of fine controls for the suit jets. But yeah, you know how it does doing this? That's what it kind of reminded me of. And I mean, that grid's not doing a slow roll either, but... let's see, let's find out where the antenna came down. I'm not going to worry about flying there in person right now. Or taking the mining ship or anything. Because if it is that slow roll bug, the last thing I want to do is take a ship anywhere. Yeah, it's making me feel like that glitch is happening, because the rover was pitching down and to the right. That the Atmo lifter grid was pitching back and to the left. Or no, back and to the right, not back and to the left. It was definitely acting like something was overriding the inputs, and it's not the Xbox controller this time. That is unplugged. So it's not like, the joysticks on my controller every now and then decide to say, no, you're drifting ever so slightly. Nope, it's not that one. There's enough of the grid intact here that it was able to land and still has power. It shouldn't have hit it at a hard impact speed. I'm kind of curious if it's still going to be mostly upright. Because if it was tipped and leaning over too far forward to right itself properly, then it should have been a very light impact. What do we got? Yeah, that's just BS. Very, very light impact. That's so minor damage that, yeah, okay, so there was a bit of the voxel terrain sticking out here further than it really should have. Come on. Come on. See, that right there tells me, even at this extreme angle, this is the angle it more or less impacted at, I'm still capable of flying it forward. Let me get it back on a level setting here. Because you're kind of... Alright, nav ball is flat out. Grid is decelerating itself fine. So this is, aside from a little bit of a little bit deviation there, let's tip the grid a little to the left. Flat out speed, this thing is holding its own. When you turned off the merge blocks on the platform, the grid changed states, which reset and detached the platform's connectors, so you had a detached ship pushing on the right back of the platform. Wrong. The problem with that statement, Strith, is the ship was not detached, because I explicitly used, down here in this bar, just the option for the gantry merge blocks, which was all 4 merge blocks that were there. It had nothing to do with the connector that was on the back of this thing right next to me that was there. What I was seeing was every time I was going up, it was acting like the thrusters were damaging the antenna array, and I bet... Nope, it actually didn't do it. Okay, that's interesting. What about the camera? No, you're fine. Every block here is fine, but that could have been Bob on the ship at that point welding it up. The only thing that would make sense, okay, that the damps were on the small craft, but the minute I got in the craft and turned off the damps, this thing was still doing this slow roll pitch back to the left. And then the other thing it doesn't explain is why was it dropping slowly? That other ship, even when I got tilted to an attitude where it could hold its own, was still somehow not holding an altitude properly. I don't know. Something about that just bugs me. Yeah, let's use the patented Feral acceleration technology here. Just tip it over and hope for the best. Gotta clear that mountain ridge after all, so might as well. Well, enough of it survived. I mean, small grid too. That's something else to keep in mind. Small grids are always kind of wonky. And honestly, it does make me really want to completely rethink the idea of using connectors. Because it doesn't seem quite right. And oh great, now my stream preview is stuck on YouTube. Thank you, YouTube. You're now making yourself known. Slow dropping was once a glitch too, wasn't it? Well, the slow drop, I don't know. Really the way to test that is to bring that grid back out here, stick it on it, lock it down in some way, and, uh-oh. Seems like, we have some company. Someone's spying on me over there. Huh. Well, isn't that interesting? Timing. Wonder why my grid wasn't working right. Doesn't that just make you stop and think? Or is someone messing with my grids remotely? Hey, you can brake now. Slow down. You're over the base. Thank you. Now you can drop down. Got a lookout tower and an observation outpost that have revealed themselves to me here. Well, you know what? I'm in a bit of a... I don't really care what necessarily happens to this thing. It actually makes for an interesting orbital platform, and I've got cameras on this too. Including one that looks down. May not be working for peacetime technology, but wartime, we may just have something here. Let's see, level you out. There you go, that should help. Game doesn't take into account altitude when using inertial dampeners. I don't know, whatever was going on there, it was definitely acting weird, but this grid is working flawlessly right now. Alright, what's the deal here? Someone's moved in across the way. I mean, I don't mind people spying on me painting, but this is kind of creepy, let's be honest here. I mean, my paintings aren't all that great. Let's see what we got. That's a full-fledged ship almost there. Come on, slow down just a bit. Not a great recon platform. Admittedly, the platform does need some more directional engine thrust. Let's see, can we thrust back and get over that spot, please? Oh, this is perfect for satellite footage. Machinima here, almost. Aside from the crappy LOD detail, but it's actually giving me contour lines too, kind of. Alright. Well, that's interesting. It's also an armed observation outpost. Huh. I don't like the looks of that there. what, a Gatling turret and 2 interior turrets on that thing. Alright. Let's take a look at our other friend. The lookout tower. He's a ways off, too. I think I got other cameras on this thing, right? I think I put one. We're going to use this as a spy platform. We might as well use this as a proper spy platform, right? There we go, merge block. Let's see what we got. Oh, that did a little itty bitty thing. I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, we're getting a little close to that. Way too close to that. Level out, please. Okay. So we got some neighbors in the area now. That's as long as I guess they're not noisy neighbors. You don't send out anyone to bother me. So be it. Welcome to the block. Okay, so the shuttle did come loose because of that. Lovely. That, if anything, just means that this idea is definitely not going to work, then. I mean, it's a nice idea, but... Hey, Scap Gaming. Welcome to the stream. Unfortunately, I think I'm probably going to be calling this one in a few minutes. I need to go back to the drawing board with this thing, certainly. Need to figure out how I'm going to manage to get... I can at least merge block it, so that's not too bad. Okay, let's go ahead and flare out. There we go. Could be worse. I mean, the gantry survived. Can't complain about that. In fact, once I turn that back on and turn on... Should be able to talk to the base, I believe. Yield module, yeah, so find the merge blocks over here on the base. You guys are turned back on. Might as well at least see if I can dock this thing. So basically, I need to switch over to, or at least with the large grid on this, merge block's more viable. Getting it in such a way that I'm not going to be dragging it on the rover is going to be the tricky part. Or be a part that becomes part of the rover when I build it on or attach to the lifter grid here. So there is that. Let's see, I want to try to... I'm going to try to do this without the exterior cameras on this one. Or if they're in range of the bobs at least. Try to aim for a spot a little to the right of that connector. So basically that I close with the merge block. I definitely need to make the launch platform should probably be a bit less wider actually. Because that is for that spot there. Actually, no, I want to be left of it, not right of it. Drop a little bit, and let the grid do its own thing. A little bit of help. Oh, come on. There we go. That part of it works. Everything else doesn't, but that part of it works. Alright. So yeah, I definitely need to redesign my idea here, because that little guy down there, I gotta figure out where to stick a merge block on him where he's not gonna ground it out all the time. Or I suppose I could take out the connector. I've got, actually no, because that's the reactor through there. That's not really an option. Yeah, I can't put it anywhere over where these guys are, because that's the, if I damage the merge block and blow the block underneath out, there goes the wheels. Can't really design anything running off that. I might have to forego the brake lights and design something coming down off the back end, even if it's like a double joint adapter of some sort. It's certainly always an option. Just like an adapter block coming back off here to there that only exists for the purpose of mounting it to the vehicle. Or I could even just go for a top surface mount too. There's no reason why I can't fit a merge block here or elsewhere on the vehicle. So we'll have that. Let's actually get these large Atmos off. It'll be easier now because there's nothing else attached to the grid anymore that's got atmospheric thrusters. Off you go to save power. But yeah, I've got some rethinking to do. The rover works, so I can get that into orbit, definitely. Well, I say definitely. That's the next test. Now that I've got some glide capability on it, I need to think about testing this thing to see if I can actually get up to orbit on one load of ice. I kind of doubt I can in this... Well... If I'm not using the steering, I can. I might need to think about throwing on a mod or two for some extra atmospheric thrusters. Just to give me something that'll look a little better and kind of streamline with the vehicle. Just give me a little bit of in-atmospheric station keeping capabilities for the initial steering. We'll see that. The new shuttle is going to be large grid. This is going to be... this is basically the prototype for it over here. So this guy right here... You should, by now, I believe, have all of your tanks filled up. Yep, your tanks are good. Drop. Who actually is doing a pretty decent job of driving around. Aside from the fact, yeah, the hovers are off, so that's not the problem. She's a bit bouncy, but she's also primarily gyro steering too, so... Gyro and the wing bits definitely do not help. Oh, in fact, there we go. Case in point. Come on, Farrell, let's not lose all of our grids in one day here, shall we? Pitch up. Still bottomed out. What'd we lose? Nothing. I'm bottoming out and supposed... No, okay, I lost one armor block over there. Okay, fine. One tiny little armor block. Let's just see... Here we go. Pitch forward some movement. Let's not head towards the next door neighbors. I don't want to alarm them or anything just yet. More altitude, please. I might have to turn down the gyro sensitivity, if anything. Alright, full vertical thrust. Steering engines to even her out. Yes, no, maybe. Oh, this is incredibly hard to steer when you're not taking off perfectly vertical to begin with. Or not vertical, horizontal. 34% O2. Okay, that's our cue to drop that. Hover on, maximize our bounce area here. And see if we can get some speed up, because then I can glide it in a bit better. Wings, you gonna bite here? Give me a little bit of momentum. Kind of. Sort of. No, not really. Okay, you're gonna be a pain. Oh, now, there we go. Now I'm definitely catching some of the wing. So cancel out that movement. Come down nice and flat here. This is the whole idea of the lander itself, is it's supposed to be able to come back in on a runway that needs to be rebuilt at this point. And I should be able to even reduce the hover height here. I can probably come in on the wheels proper on this one. Just a little bit of extra protection on that. Touching down in 3, 2, 1. Drop the nose a bit. 1.5. 1 3/4. 0.5. Did you just land? Thank you. The hover engine's there, that's why. Okay. That's the smoothest landing I've had in this thing all day at this point. She's got the gyro steer so I don't ram into the cliffside. Maybe we're looking into driving designs that don't absolutely demand gyro steering. But that was not gyro steering. That was decidedly not gyro steering. That was coasting in. That was the wings giving me the lift there. Coffee above your hydro engines that far off the ground? Yeah, I'm fine with that. I know. Remember, this thing's not going to be on the ground. This thing's intended to go to the moon, so... Worst case scenario, I just build some blocks on it and Bob gets me up to where I need to be. Alright, so... Because, yeah, this is not gyro steering right here. This is the actual proper vehicle steering right here. I'm perfectly happy with how this is doing. I don't want it bouncing around like crazy. In fact, if I go to the moon, I'll probably wind up turning the gyro down to like 10%. There's only one on board, so... Still hate that this thing was digging holes into the ground somehow there. I've definitely got to find a way to ease off the ramp here. And the bottom transition on it is just that bad. And yet I can go up it just fine. Because like before where I was doing the little, if I go up this too quick, I actually catch air on the wings. And let's do a nice controlled drive up that ramp. See? Perfectly fine. Okay, yes, I am dinging a few blocks on the way. Guys are warning me about that the light armor could be a problem. You are 100% correct. I will not lie about that one. But for a very tiny compact rover, I have no problems with that right now. It's doing pretty good. So... That's what I lost again, the connector. But yet the block under it is perfectly fine. Yeah, I think I need to call it there, guys, because Mr. Farrell's definitely having a little bit of a hard time with the chill at the moment. I really don't want to turn this into another salty stream. I have update parodies for that. I really don't need to be doing that every time I get into the game. But some of the things coming out in that survival beta will be fixing some of the long-standing issues with some things and hopefully improving things elsewhere. At the very least, hey, new survival challenges. We'll have that pretty soon. And speaking of new survival challenges, well, we've got 2 new survival challenges out here. It looks like we're being observed by someone. Maybe maybe they're art critics? I don't know. They're that one looked a little heavily armed. That guy might be like a, I'd say it's his fishing shack, but it's not really, doesn't really seem like that. Either way, there will be plenty of fun to come next week. And I will certainly be quite happy to hop back into the world. So, as a reminder, this world is out as of the start of this episode. Come on, camera controls. No, I want you to move. This is out on the Steam Workshop as of the start of the episode, so the ramp itself is not finished in that current build, but mostly there. Just needs a little bit of refining to come on, slower. Thank you. Now you're going too slow. It's there on the workshop under Relaxing Survival. You will find the workshop there, or find it on the workshop with all of the various bits and bobs, the little vehicles I had around, including the original rover prototype that was in the stream at that point. Not this new prototype, because that was built this time around. Let me get rid of my... You'll have the launching platform over here, not complete, obviously, because I did more work on that. You'll basically see everything that we've got, and you can play around with it and try out your own things. So, thanks guys for watching. Programming notes, Saturday, Uncooperative may or may not be on. I know Tex is not around, unfortunately. So we will see what comes out of that. It may be another Atlas stream, depending on what Waste is up to. We will also be back with Mecha Monday on hopefully YouTube again. And that episode that was streamed over on Twitch will be up on YouTube later this week. Promise, I will get that up there. SevTech, still working on splitting out that into proper episode format so I can start showing that on YouTube, because I don't want to get too far ahead of that. And we will see where that leads us. But otherwise, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you. Thank you, Stream Deck, for completely botching that outro. I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care.